I call the February 6th McKinneyville Community Services District meeting to order, and we'll start off first with a roll call from the Board Secretary.
Director Burke. Here. Director Corbett.
Here.
Director Mayo.
Present.
Director Couch.
Here.
The next item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, and David, would you lead us in that?
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item of business is, are there any additions to the agenda? And people should be aware that they have to be specific exemptions from the Brown Act or they're not allowed.
No additions to the agenda.
Okay. Anyone from the audience? The next item of business is approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I move we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay. We got a motion and a second.
Director
Please.
Burke. Aye. Director Couch.
Aye.
Director Mayo.
Yes.
President Corbett.
Aye. The agenda is approved. We do not have a closed session, so that is, we're moving on to the next agenda item. We don't have any public hearings scheduled, so the next item is C. This is public comment and written communications. And this is any person in the audience may address the board at this time upon any subject not identified on this agenda. If it's on the agenda, we'll call it up and you get your opportunity then. But within the jurisdiction of the McKinneyville Community Services District. However, any matter that requires action will be referred to staff for a report of action at a subsequent committee or board meeting. That's because of the Brown Act. As to matters on the agenda, an opportunity will be given to address the board for 3 minutes. However, we want to emphasize if you have very complex issues, it sure helps to write a letter. So, with that, I'd like to welcome anyone from the public who wants to make comments. Okay. Let the hearing record reflect no comments were made. The next item is the consent calendar. Any member of the audience or the board or staff can ask that any matter on the consent calendar can be pulled and we can separately discuss it. Otherwise, it's considered generally a routine matter and we pass it as a whole. Is there anyone on the board who wants to lift any item from the consent calendar? Is there anyone from the audience? Anyone from staff? Hearing none, can I get a motion?
Move to approve the consent calendar.
A second.
Can we have the roll?
Director Burke. Aye. Director Couch.
Aye.
Director Mayo.
Yes.
President Corbett.
Aye. So now we're to E, continued and new business. And the first item is a presentation of the Community Building Award to Kelly Miller and Kristen Wilfong. And so I'll call on staff to make a presentation.
The Community Builder Award is an award the district presents to local individuals, businesses, and organizations for their volunteer service, sponsorship, promotion of programs and events, outstanding service in the interest of the district, and for other contributions significant to McKinleyville's quality of life. District staff has identified Kelly Miller and Christine Wilfong as worthy individuals to receive the award. Both Kelly and Christine serve on the McKinleyville Chamber Board of Directors and actively participate and regularly volunteer their time in our community. In 2017, the McKinleyville Chamber initiated a beautification project which included the installation of flower baskets along Central Avenue. For the past 2 years, Kelly and Christine have dedicated their mornings to the watering of the flower baskets on a purely volunteer basis. Fully equipped with a golf cart and water tank provided by Miller Farms, it's clear to see Kelly and Christine's sense of pride and satisfaction in giving back to our community. In addition to watering, Kelly and Christine are generous with their time and involvement throughout the year with McKinleyville events, helping in any way they can to make McKinleyville a great place. Staff recommends that the board listen to staff's presentation, air questions, take public comment, and present the Community Builder Award to Kelly Miller and Christine Wolfong.
Does anyone from the audience want to comment on the presentation of the Community Building Award to Kelly Miller and Kristen Wolfong? Okay. We'd like to then present the award, and we'll call
I
it.
picked on it, John.
I'm sorry, pardon?
I wanted to comment on it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So anyway, I remember when you guys asked, if you could put flower
Right.
baskets up on the poles, and I was kind of skeptical, thinking, well, that'll be another thing city staff has to take care of. But the flower baskets are beautiful. You guys take care of them. It's been a really wonderful project. Every time I drive down Central and see them, it makes my day better. So thank you guys very much.
Any other board members?
I especially like to see out there when it's cold water, and I'm not the only person out in the cold doing chores. I like to see that.
Could you identify yourself? Is it off? Would you there? Sure. Yes. And is that Christine?
I'm Christine, yes.
Is Kelly here?
Yes.
Got a call on
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind coming up, I want to say thank you for this work, and it is beautiful to have the flowers hanging on our streets, welcoming everyone to town. And I also just want to comment on both of you answering the questions in the that we asked here for the Community Builder Award, and particularly if you don't mind me reading, Christine, one of your answers. I feel it just really exemplifies how I feel about this community. You did a great job responding to the question, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing communities, or McKinleyville in particular today? You say, I see our biggest challenge in McKinleyville, and everywhere for that matter, is mental health, theft, homelessness, and drugs. I pray daily for answers to these challenges, which seem to be increasing almost daily. I would love to see if everyone put their thoughts together on these issues, show tolerance of the suggestions and opinions made, and come together with a community plan of action, we might be surprised of the progress we could take pride in. Really appreciate your thoughts on that and the way you put it together, and I completely agree. Time and time again I come to McKinleyville meetings, and I'm just proud to be a representative in this community and proud of our communities. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for the work you're doing, both of you, in this community. Thank you.
And I had a comment that I wanted to give both of you the opportunity to comment. I just wanted to say when we approve this, it's hard to know how consistent and how much it would last. And I have to say, when I drive down McKinleyville, it's like someone has fresh flowers up for everybody. It's pretty exciting and really makes this a community. So I want to thank you. Now we'd like to hear a couple words from you.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, MCSD, and to the community. We truly appreciate the support. We do love our early mornings. And we have grown, gotten our relationships with Starbucks for our early morning coffee. And they let us drive our cart through, however we like to go in. But anyways, we do. We really appreciate it. We enjoy it. We love the comments, the honks. Little kids walking down the sidewalk will make comments if we're doing it on a weekend. Hey, these look really pretty. Hey, my grandma loves these. And to hear small kids and the next generations, commenting on things like that, to me is really exciting and encouraging. So, and then of course we want to do a shout out to our husbands who have filled in for us a time or two. So we told them that we would help accept this award on their behalf as well. And of course, Miller Farms. Miller Farms is where we store everything, and so we truly appreciate everything that Miller's does for the community.
And I really appreciate everything too. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Look forward to 2019.
Yeah, I would just like regularly when we pass in the morning when I'm on my way to work, and it always brightens my day when we're synchronized and I get to say hi to you guys in the morning. And always upbeat, and I know sometimes it's miserable out, and I know the water's got to be running down your sleeves and stuff when you're watering those plants, and they're beautiful, and the effort shows in the beauty of those baskets of flowers hanging on the poles. It's one of the greatest things as far as beautification in McKenzie. So thank you very much for your effort, and I don't know that they wouldn't be there if it wasn't for you two guys.
Well, thanks, Greg. We appreciate that. We enjoy seeing you as well.
And they should be up before Mother's Day, if not
Yes.
right after.
That's usually our yearly goal, so be watching out for that. Yep.
Just as I was up at the greenhouse the other day, she's got them almost ready for you.
Nice. Looking forward to it.
Yep.
And if anybody ever has any suggestions on colors, community as well, we're always, we have to, Kelly has to submit that information, early on in the game. But, we want community's feedback as far as colors and stuff. So, definitely if anybody has anything, please don't hesitate to make that request, either through the chamber or Kelly and Norma.
Yeah,
Thank you
So at this
much.
time, would the board come over here to the side so we can do the presentation, and we'll get some photos.
Every day.
It'd be so nice to.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank One last thank you for the flowers.
Okay, the next item of business is D2. Consider the appointment of applicant Scott Binder for vacant position on the Recreational Advisory Committee. And with that, I'll call on Leslie, I think, to make the presentation.
It is the duty of the Board of Directors to vet and select the most qualified candidates to become members of the Recreation Advisory Committee. The Board of Directors is obligated to interview all candidates, discuss the candidates' qualifications, and select the most qualified candidates to serve on the committee by majority vote. There is currently one regular opening and one student opening and 2 alternate openings on the Recreation Advisory Committee. Staff has posted sufficient notice through local media and at district facilities of the vacancies for the rec. Mr. Scott Binder submitted a letter of application, which can be reviewed in attachment 1 on January 17, 2019. Staff informed the Recreation Advisory Committee of the submission of his letter of interest at the January 17th meeting. Scott is a McKinnville native. He is an active member in the community, volunteering in monthly trash cleanups and using social media to inform the public of civic meetings and happenings in McKinnville. Staff recommends that the board consider the information provided, air questions, take public comment, and vote on the appointment of Scott Binder to the Recreation Advisory Committee for a 4-year term as a voting member.
Okay. Any board member comments?
Yeah, just subject to board comments and public comment, I would like to nominate Mr. Bender for this position.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. With that, I'll ask, are there any public comments on this nomination? Appointment.
Good evening. My name is. Good evening. You can hear me.
Go ahead.
Other can hear me now. My name is Lisa Dugan. I'm a McKinleyville resident. I am thrilled to know that Scott has put in an application for the Recreation Advisory Committee, which will make the committee whole. Scott's a very active member in our community, which many probably people know about the trash pickups that he does. He's also very active on social media sites, and I am one of the moderators on the Kinleyville Community Watch, and he's often on there posting information of interest to the community. So very happy to see Scott getting involved in recreation.
Working out. So I'm actually the chair of the Recreation Advisory Committee, and we are looking forward to having Scott on our team.
All right. Any other public comment? Staff comment? Board comment?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for volunteering.
I just want to say I think it's an outstanding nomination. Very happy about it. Can we have a motion? Can we get a roll call vote?
Director Burke?
Aye.
Director Couch?
Aye.
Director Mayo?
Yes.
President Corbett?
Aye. Motion carries. The next item is E3, review and discuss the McKinneyville Skateboard Park quarterly project status update presented by the Humboldt Skateboard Collective. And with that, I'll call you up to the microphone.
So sorry I didn't introduce myself last time. I'm Charlie Caldwell. I'm also the director of Humboldt Skate Park Collective and president of the McKinneyville Project. So this quarterly report is for the McKinneyville Project. Everything's in small writing because I forgot my paper. This is basically the end of 2018 quarterly report. At year end of 2018, thank you, never let me try. PG&E campaign community input at $4,350 to the McKinneyville area. To the project, McKinneyville area fund $10,000 of that donation to for our design. The $4,350 is for, it basically is our running budget that comes from the PG&E employees. And then throughout all of our events that we were doing, we get a lot of small donations. We actually brought in $375 for those donations. So it was actually a good year. Our current total right now is $134,186.46. So that is lower than the last quarterly report because we actually paid out for our engineering of the location. So that's actually been paid and taken care of. Summary of grants, right? As of this writing, we have not been in the grant writing process. We actually have 2 grants that will be on your next quarterly report that we put in for. And we're doing all the research right now for the design. The design is coming in. We're actually meeting with the design group starting this month. They're actually coming to town to set up a meeting grade in our community with them. So they're actually bringing the design to us, and we'll work through all the details, get that in place, start writing the larger grants. So we are behind schedule on our design, but it's coming forward. Of course, I just talked about the engineering. We have $20,000 set aside that have come from the McKinneyville Area Fund. And we are working with our grant writers right now. They were on hold up to this point. And that's pretty much my report for the end of the year. So we do have activity happening and communicating with our design group, and things are moving forward for McKinneyville Skate Park. Questions?
Anyone from the board have comments? Staff? Yeah.
No, just good work. Thank you for checking in.
Yeah, I just want to say it's a very ambitious project you've taken on. I appreciate your leadership and to get as much progress as you have in the amount of time since you took it over and started working on it, and improved relations with everybody, both in the community and with this board, is quite a successful effort. And anything we can do to help you get over the next round of grants, let us know.
It's happening now, so we'll let you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
agenda item on the back. Perfect.
The next item is E4, review information provided pertaining to the McKinneyville Senior Center MSC activities, strategic plan implementation, progress, and requested changes to the management services and use agreement between MSC and the MCSD. And I believe, would it be Kendra Day? Is she not? There you are. Why don't you make a presentation, and then Leslie, is that fine with you? Okay.
Is that hearable? Okay, here I go. Thank you very much for having me. I'm Kendra Day. I'm the director of the McKinleyville Senior Center. I'm going to make a very brief presentation tonight. No PowerPoint, not too much information about what we do and who we are, because I'm going to focus tonight on the use agreement that's before you and the particular specific proposals that are before you. If you ever have time for a more complete presentation about the Senior Center, I would be very happy to do it, and maybe there'll be time in March. My message today is very simple. The Senior Center is providing very important services to our community. Nobody else has a focus on the seniors as we do, and the senior population is growing significantly, needs more services, more activities. And our main request to you is to increase and strengthen our cooperation and our collaboration between MCSD and the Senior Center so we can do more. That's the purpose of these requests. Can you hear me okay? Do I have to keep my mouth closed? I want to give you a quick, oh that's better, isn't it? I want to give you a quick profile of seniors that's drawn from the Area 1 Agency on Aging's area plan for 2016 to 2020. In McKinleyville, they estimate that there are approximately 5,000 seniors, this was 2 years ago, over the age of 50. We also serve Trinidad and Fieldbrook and West Haven, and that increases the number to 6,000. The senior population is growing. Between 2010 and 2015, in that 5-year period, it grew by 28%. The proportion of seniors in our population is rapidly growing. They think by 2060, it will more than double the proportion of seniors in our population in Humboldt County. So 49% of those people are economically insecure. About 20% of them live below the poverty line. So it's a very significant population. It has a wide variety of needs, and we're determined to address as many of those needs in as positive a fashion as possible, and we are relying on your continued cooperation because you've been great partners to us. We're busy every day at the Senior Center. We have lots of drop-ins. We have lots of volunteers. We serve about 300 people every week. Consistently, they come back all the time. And we also have a wider family circle that drops in from time to time. But if you consider that there's 6,000 people in our service area, that means we're reaching about 5%. And we don't think that's acceptable. We need to do better. We need to reach more people, and that's what we're working to do. Quick overview of what we do. We were founded in 1974. We're over 40 years old. We're run almost entirely by volunteers. They do everything. Most of our volunteers are in their 80s and 90s. We have quite a few absolutely wonderful backbone of the organization volunteers who are over 90. We do referrals to essential or basic services. We have lots of health and wellness programs. We have lots of recreation programs that work in alignment with what Parks and Rec does. Lots of fun, games, and other kinds of activities and field trips. We do arts and education. We do computer mentoring. We have flu shot clinics. We do tax prep counseling. I'm just mentioning a few of the things we do so you can see the wide range of activities we do. In our strategic plan, and I can tell you more at some point in the future, we adopted a strategic plan, again, with the participation of MCSD, the very helpful participation, and it has 4 goals. The first is to strengthen our organization. The second is to do more outreach, be sure we know more about the people we serve and are more connected with our community. The third is to expand programs directed by that outreach and understanding. And the fourth is to build our volunteer program, and we're making good progress in that direction. But we have a very limited fundraising capacity. We're just beginning to build it. Our budget is under $60,000 a year, and most of it comes from very small donations. So when we ask you for a discount that will be $600 to us, I want you to understand that that's actually really important to us and very helpful. I think that's all I'm going to say about who we are right now. I want to talk a little bit about what our challenges are. We don't know very much in detail, but we know there's many people in McKinleyville who are isolated and at risk. We hear stories about them all the time. Many people have neighbors who are isolated, who can't get out, and we really want to improve our ability to bring basic services to those people, including transportation services. We also know there's many more people who want other kinds of services, educational opportunities, art opportunities, fun opportunities, exercise and health and wellness. So there's just a lot of people that we're not able to reach yet. And we are determined to work on that. That's what our strategic plan guides us to do, and we're eager to work in close partnership with you. We're requesting, I think it's 4 major changes to our use agreement, and I'd just like to talk about those right now. The first one is the advisory council. In the past, MCSD was actually responsible for our advisory council, and it was an oversight council to be sure we were on track. We would like to delete that from the use agreement, and now we'll have our own advisory council under our board supervision, kind of growing up a little bit. We are very eager to have an advisory council, but we'll convene it ourselves. The second is we're asking for exclusive use of our senior room in Azalea Hall. Right now we only have use from 9 to 4, 5 days a week, but we're completely full. We can't expand programs because the room is used all the time. So we want to start doing things in the evenings and on the weekends. We want to do a Saturday studio, series of art classes on Saturday and so forth. And so we are asking for exclusive use so that you won't rent it to other people. There's a couple of church groups that use it now. That's fine. We'll continue to welcome them in the senior room, but we hope to take it off the market, basically, so that you don't rent it to other groups. So we're just talking about our little room. The third is that we're asking you to consider a gradual rent increase. So that instead of going, our rent now, based on the formula that Leslie's been developing, would increase by about $113 a month, including the normal increase for our basic rent and this exclusive use. We're asking you to increase it by 50% of that, so that it would increase by about $60 a month, and next year we'll go up to the full $113. It would just give us a little grace period to build our fundraising base, to involve more people, and to be able to meet that requirement. We want to pay our way, but we'd like to do it a little bit more slowly. And the fourth thing is that we're asking you to enter in with us with a memorandum of agreement that will spell out what we contribute to the mission of the district, what the district is contributing to us, formalize our partnership for serving seniors in this community with recreational and educational programs. Our missions are very compatible, and they align and overlap, and we would like to be able to formally recognize that, and every year sit down with staff and say, what can we do to increase our cooperation, to meet more needs together, to see what we can do to actually benefit both the district and ourselves. So that's the purpose of the MOU. Finally, I just want to talk briefly. Is this the time to talk about the library, or should I wait for the next item? Next item. So that's the end of my presentation for today. I just want to end by saying that we greatly, greatly appreciate the support of the district. We're already getting a fantastic deal. The district makes it possible for us to operate this extremely busy senior center. And I just want to say that we're very grateful. We thank you. We hope you'll continue to cooperate with us and consider these requests. Thanks a lot.
We'll call on staff and then board members to make comments, especially board members that have worked with the senior center. It'd be nice to speak up. Leslie.
So this is an informational item, and the parts about the agreement, we want to bring the agreement to the board for approval in March, but there were some pretty significant changes, so we kind of wanted to get a pulse from the board as to how you're feeling about some of those changes, and if you had any feedback or direction in terms of what we bring to you in March for approval. And you can read in the fiscal analysis what the fee adjustments would be based on the formula, and then what the request of doing a 50% of the original increase would be. So she covered all the things I was going to say, and I'm waiting to hear what you have to say.
That's the question.
Great.
I have a question, if that's all right.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Your question is specifically allowed, as all board members do. But you owe me for a long time now.
Leslie, the difference in the use of the room, what does that mean dollar-wise?
It is approximately $900 a year, what we would miss out based on the last 2 years' use of that room for rentals, separate from the 2 church groups, the 2 other vendors we have in there. It's about $900 a year.
And I understand completely the need for that, and can support that, but I think that a significant amount for the district to, take each, let's say, and that would be a huge contribution. So I'm inclined to think about that more than rate change structure.
So that loss was included in the fee increase.
Okay, so it wasn't the increase.
Yeah, so it amounts to about $75 a month.
And my last question is, and I know this is, you don't make these decisions, but I'd like your feedback. What do you think in terms of the graduated rate increase? Well, I mean, relative to your position working the budget for what you have to do budgetarily.
Yeah, I mean it's a small amount budget, like in the grand scheme of things. The $900, or even let's cut it. If we did the gradual and we only increase their fees by 50% of what the formula suggests, so let's say it's $450 for the year. It is minor for our budget. And then the other side of that, though, is that they have proposed to do some improvements to the facility in the lobby. And so I think that in regards to that fee structure, there would be a trade that would be mutually beneficial to us. It would add value to our facility, possibly in the amount of more than $900 for the year.
Well, I appreciate that feedback. I have some other comments, but I'll wait. They're not specifically the last one.
Okay. Do you have comments to the speaker?
No.
Okay.
Can I make one comment?
Yes.
Just to give you a little context, in Arcata, the Eureka Senior Resource Center uses the Arcata Community Center for their building, and it's completely donated. They say it's a value of $96,000, their use of that building. So we know your situation is completely different than Arcata, But I just wanted you to know that there are precedents for this kind of thing.
Maybe we can figure out a way to get them to loan us some money.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is part of my comments later.
I've had, is my mic on there? Yes. I've had the opportunity to be the MCSD board liaison to the senior center over the past, I think it's almost 2 years. And it's been a real pleasure to work with the senior center and the seniors. And in that time, you've gone from having all volunteer executive director and board chair. And now I attended the last board meeting, and you have a very active board that's recruiting and is strong in making good decisions for the organization. And now Kendra is on board as the director of the senior center. So the improvements over the past couple of years have been in a really positive direction. And as well, I think the members of the senior center have really felt that and have started to come out in greater numbers. So as I understand it, the need for extra space is large there. So I'd like to speak to the item of removing the advisory committee. And from what I've seen, the seniors center is interested in forming their own advisory committee. And as the board liaison, I strongly support that change or discussing that change. But could you remind me, so there's exclusive use of the Hewitt room, rate changes, and eliminating the advisory committee. What's the fourth change?
The MOU.
Oh, the MOU. And I would also, I appreciate MOUs. They make communication more clear for us and for the community. And I would also be in favor of exploring an MOU. And then finally, I just wanted to say thank you for sharing the information about interlingual seniors, because if you're not sharing it, we're not often getting that sort of information, and I think the unmet need is large, and I look forward to continuing to work with the Senior Center to help meet these needs that align, where they align with the services district.
I just have a couple of comments then. First is, if you're getting volunteers 80 to 90 years old, I'll be lucky and honored if I get the opportunity to be such a volunteer with you.
Great.
I wanted to...
They don't need wishy-washy, John.
What? I strongly support you're doing your own advisory committee. I thought that was a wise direction for the last 2 or 3 years. And you become your own. And grown up, it's funny with all these intergenerational terms, but I strongly support that, and I think it's a good move for you and a good move for the district. I am a little concerned on the exclusive hours that we only asked for 10 for the district in the course of the year. That seems a very small number of hours of our exclusive use, and so I'd like you to think that through. Whether perhaps that could be expanded some. We want to have a primary direction with the seniors, and I don't want to challenge that, but 10 hours a year is not a lot of exclusive time that I saw in one of the agreements. Do you want me to give you a page number?
That 10 hours, I think, is for the Hewitt room, so that they can do a fundraising event. That is not there. She's asking for exclusive use of the senior room all the time, so that we don't rent the senior room out to folks for meetings or parties or...
So you're satisfied with that with the Hewitt room?
That was something that Kendra and I had talked about. It used to be this 2 evening rentals of around 4 or 5 hours each, and the dates had to be specified, so we opened it up so that it was up to 10 hours, but that was just something that we had talked about.
Anyway, I would like both parties to discuss that a little bit. I wanted to talk on the fees. We're very sensitive to not wanting fees to kill a great program in progress. I do want to say the recreational department right now, for items totally unrelated, is suffering financially, and they're going to have to be attentive to fees with everybody, and that's just a little bit as the background. We appreciate you portraying to us the challenges that makes for you, because that gives us the best chance to make a balanced decision on it. Any other comment? All right, well, thank you for a great presentation. We can't wait till when you come back. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no comments for us, just comments for our board and
Okay.
for our staff.
I'm hanging around here because I have the next agenda item also.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
So when, for our staff, board discussion and for our staff, I am very happy, just as Director Burke said about the direction, and I'm very happy with Director Burke's work in making that happen. I knew that was going to happen, and that's why we tasked her with that job. What I'd like to see is that tasking expand and go stronger, so that in a short period of time, this senior center has expanded itself to where it has perhaps a Meals on Wheels program, a daily food program here, a full-time paid XO that's also a grant writer. Just recently, the Humboldt Area Foundation gave out quite a few $40,000 grants. I was happy to see that one of them was for food-type programs for youth up in the valley, but I was disappointed that our senior center wasn't up on the palette for that. I want us to be there continually at all of those sources of funding. That's a challenge that I'd like to put to this board to help push and put to the senior center staff. Also, the Eureka Senior Center program is a little bit different structure and a little better connection with federal senior stuff. And I want us to be in the same queue with them, whether that means our XO or your XO is actually a part of that organization or not, I don't know. But I'm really happy with the direction that we've moved, as I know you are, from where it was 2 years ago to now. But let's just make that twice as good by this time next year as it is this year. Okay? And I think we can do that. So those were my comments that were for the board.
Okay. Any further board comments? Anyone from the public? Okay. Well, thank you, and we're going to proceed to the next item.
That's E5.
The next item is E5. Consideration of approval. We're moving on to the next item. Okay. E5, consider approval of fee waiver or rental fees for the use of the McKinleyville Library Conference Room by the McKinleyville Senior Center. Oh, I'm sorry, you're up for this one. My fault.
That's why you're not.
Just correct me when I go astray. And I will call on a presentation from Leslie Frisbee.
The McKinleyville Senior Center is requesting the MCSD board waive the rental fees for the use of the library conference room for the purpose of conducting additional programming for seniors which cannot be accommodated within Azalea Hall. After conducting a survey of senior community members, the MSC discovered that there is growing interest in the community for art and writing classes. MSC is planning to offer both a memoir writing class as well as a story writing class in 2019. Additionally, they would like to start hosting 1 or 2 book clubs on specific interest areas. MSC would like to use the library conference room 2 times per week, 2 hours each time, during hours which the library is not open to the public. As the MSC is providing essential leisure services that MCSD Parks and Recreation Department would otherwise be tasked with providing, MSC believes that the provision of these services can most effectively be accomplished in partnership with MCSD. While the MSC makes efforts to raise funds to support the programs offered to the senior community in McKinleyville, the fundraising is not sufficient to expand programming at this time. A fee waiver for the use of the library conference room will allow the MSC to provide additional programming to meet the expanding needs and desires of the community. MSD strongly believes that the arts and literary programs are an important component of senior leisure programming. Such programs enhance intellectual and educational opportunities, support elders in preserving their memories and stories, as well as exercising their cognitive functions. Staff recommends that the board review the information presented, air questions, take public comment, discuss, and vote on a decision whether to grant or not grant a fee waiver of rental fees for the McKinney Senior Center use of the library conference room.
Okay. Any questions of staff? I had one. Does staff have a recommendation of approval or not? Or were you neutral on purpose?
I am neutral on purpose. I mean, the financial challenges of our department are pretty heavy.
Yes.
So it's really hard for me to say that I want to help them, and at the same time,
Right.
I'm scraping for every $5. So
I'll call the gentleman.
Yeah, historically, the board has resisted granting waivers for any of the recreation facilities because the importance of being able to collect every bit of rent that we possibly can for the facilities. I'm not going to give the board a recommendation. I'm just going to remind the board of historically what we've done so far, and I think that at this point in time, with the financial situation with our Parks and Rec department, I think the $1,900 is important.
Okay. Or comments?
Well, I fully support the idea of expanded senior services, and especially, providing a service that is also in partnership with the district and offering services within the library. In essence, we're building a greater relationship and network between the our government agency and the organizations that are operating within this campus, and I fully support that objective. I think what is presented here, if I've got it right, is this would be looking at a waiver for the full year.
For 1 year.
For 1 year. And at this time, we don't have any data for which to base how interested the seniors might be in a program like this. And so I might be interested if the senior center were willing to try a trial run and pay for the room and see what the interest is from the seniors, and look at a way to help us understand this need and what this opportunity provides in the near term.
Can I respond?
Um,
I guess that's not
more than a comment.
Let me get all the board comments and then we'll let you respond. Any other board comments? Board member Mayo?
Sometimes you have to prime the pump when you're doing things. And as I well know, a lot of things that I've engaged in over the years. And that may be the case of what you have to do here to see if this works. And you might find that if you prime the pump yourself, that it will return what you want. You may find out that you don't want to do it at all. But I wanted to point out that I think it's laudable, and I appreciate it, and I support it on its face. But over, I don't know, quite a few years now, we've had quite a few pretty good programs come that wanted us to support them and give them a rate break and forgive the fee and stuff, and we just weren't able to do that. I, on at least 4 occasions, I think a couple more, paid for the deal myself. Now, they were just 1 month at a time deals, one cost, and General Manager Orsini chunked in on those as well. So we covered the cost personally for some of those things because it wasn't appropriate for the district to do. And so that's my position on this today, is that I love the whole concept, and I'll do what I can to help, but financially from a district level, I can't support it.
My comments are, I do have financial concerns. First of all, for the history, Rotary Club built this building, and so we got it free, just so everybody knows. But the goal was to have county library services, and they provided those in an exchange. So when we start getting from purposes, we also got relations with the library, although I think they could be talked into this. But I do want to say it is a precedent to start allowing this to go free. There's also a deeper financial issue, and that is we have not been setting aside money for the replacement of the library building, which is something we're working on, and we're going to get a deferred maintenance set aside in the near future. So we are, in fact, losing money because we don't have the money to replace and keep the building upkeep at the level it ought to be. So that's, a little bit of financial winds and pressure against your proposal. Nevertheless, I think we could do something that's a short-term, smaller fee than if it's long-term, and you can determine what happens, and we can have generous termination clauses, and then sort of splitting the difference for now and see what happens. I support that. But I don't want to go for the precedent of it being free, and I do want people to know parks has got to start asking for stuff, and we also need to get maintenance programs for all the buildings.
Thank you for bringing that up, John. This is not specifically your burden or for you, but this is expanding on what the Director of Corporate said. I wish that even half of you had come to our strategic planning on our park and recreation issues that we had not too long ago. I believe it's online, that information. Is that correct? Or
It was part of the board information for that special meeting?
Yeah, it was in the board packet as a recap of what we talked about during the
Joe would be online available for
Yes.
people to look at. Y'all don't understand. There's some tough decisions going to come down on Park and Rec here that the bottom line is way below what we can cover. And so we had a day-long strategic plan on it, a study session on it that, and I thought I was pretty up to speed on this stuff, but it was eye-opening to me. And so we're not crying poor mouth about this stuff. It's just reality. So, and again, that's not your burden. I'm just pointing out that it's a reality.
Okay, yes, please speak.
I wanted to respond to Mary's comment. The classes are already underway. They're taking place in the lobby. There's a lot of noise, but there is interest. We have a memoir writing class, which I think is really exciting, and a writing class already underway. I appreciate the problems you're discussing. I just want to mention two things. We're providing a lot of recreational programs for seniors that the district would otherwise have to provide. We're raising the money for that, and I think it should be acknowledged. And also, no one's using the room. We won't be able to rent it for $2,000, so it's not as though we're going to say, great, now we'll just rent it. So we won't use it also. And I totally understand your situation, but I honestly think it might make sense to encourage us to use that room. That's
Any further questions?
Well, I really like the idea, of using a library room for writing classes and book club. I was going to say that I really like the idea of having writing and book club meetings in the library conference room. I think that's kind of the reason it was originally built. And I would see, maybe some room for compromise between paying nothing and paying, the full rent while you guys get the program up and going. That's kind of my position on it. So.
I have one other thought, and that is, since we have the library, release it to the library, if it's a library program, they may be able to approve it.
You know, I don't know whether it's appropriate, but I think there's some stuff here that needs to be vetted out. I'm really not, I don't think we're in a position right now to vote on this. I'd like to postpone this if there's the will of the board. I think there's some information that we need to garner about what monies are available, et cetera. So, you know, I go by the will of the board, but I'd like to see us postpone this and have a little more vetting of a few financial positions.
Is that in a motion to table?
I would make a motion to table, yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there
To postpone or to table?
Well, table with a recall by the chair when,
Or is postpone a better way to do it?
Postpone tabling is,
well, okay.
Let's
Motion to
postpone.
postpone,
Yeah.
I don't think it matters. Usually you want a date certain, so postpone to the next meeting or soon thereafter if it can be heard.
I think we could vet out the financial issues that I'm thinking about by then, sure.
So I'll second the motion it was postponed. The item, I hear the board being in support and not being clear about whether we want to support by partial payment or Director Corbett had a statement there, I think, that I didn't quite catch the full gist of, but I think there is support, and I agree with tabling so we can come back with perhaps another look at how to be supportive of this proposal.
Yeah, I think there's a way that we could find a way that everybody could contribute.
Okay, any further board discussion? Okay, can you take the roll?
Director Burke?
Aye.
Director Couch?
Aye.
Director Mayo?
Yes.
President Corbett?
Aye. Okay, the matter's been postponed, and I think that's good, so allow everyone to dig into it a little deeper. The next item is E6, review of information pertaining to the 2018 Hiller Sports site fees billed to the McKinleyville Little League and social media incident which occurred January 19 through the 20th, 2019. And the type of action is none, so this is mainly, we're going to review the information presented, enter questions, discuss, take public comment, and since this is an informational item, we're not allowed to take action. So with that, I will call on staff.
So there's a 4-page staff note. I'm not going to read the whole thing because that's excessive and I'm not trusting.
You can give highlights and the most
So the things I want to comment on is that when we do any of our facilities, not just Solar Sports, but all of our facilities, there's a reservation process and our billing process is consistent. So every user, every vendor of our facilities is treated the same way. They're held to the same expectations and standards. So when we enter into an agreement, our organization signs that agreement. The organization requesting our facilities signs the agreement. And in addition to the signed agreement, there's often additional information that's required, which is included in the checklist as part of the agreement. So in terms of the Little League use in 2018, the bill that was originally sent was sent based on information that district staff had available to them. That initial invoice was sent, and then there was a question about it, and it was determined that there was some information missing. Part of that was because the program that the database we use to do the billing is a little bit wonky, and because of the credit hours that were allotted to Little League for their labor maintenance, the dates that didn't have a dollar amount associated to them because they were given credit didn't show up on the use bill. So that error was caught, and then it was I was able to pull up all of the dates that they were using. And then there was still unhappiness with the bill that they got. And then there was a Facebook post. And then after that, their invoice was looked at, I'm only guessing, was looked at a little more closely. And I got an email on the 21st saying that there's dates on this invoice that we did not use. Oh, I didn't know that. So upon I requested the actual usage dates, it was given to me and I adjusted the invoice. Because our intention is not to bill people for use that they didn't use. Our intention is to only bill for dates and times that the facility gets used. So that's what happened with that bill. Within the agreement is all the information any organization needs to be able to estimate what their bill is going to be based on their use requests. I mean, the hourly rate is listed. They submit a use request form that lists like the days of the week, the hours per day, over like the span of the contract. So for example, they will request from last year, it was March 7th through, June something, Monday through Friday, 4 to 8, Saturdays, 8 to 5. So that's what gets entered into our system to reserve the fields. I was given game day schedules, and based on the game day schedule, I adjusted the times on those dates. I didn't get practice schedules, so there was a lot of time that was on their bill that was based on the original use request. So the surprise of what they were billed, and they could have known in advance. So that's all of that. The other piece of this is one of your attachments shows the total expenses in calendar year 2017 and calendar year 2018, and it breaks those expenses down over what is covered under by Measure B, which is what all property owners in McKinley will pay into, and our general fund, which is comprised of a variety of things. The revenues received for calendar year 2017 totaled $20,629. The revenues received for calendar year 2018 totaled $14,458. Granted, the revenues for 2018, Matterhorn Youth Soccer and Little League didn't pay their 2018 use fees until 2019. So that's not included in that amount. I just wanted to say that because it seems really low. But if you look at the revenues versus what our total expenses are, there's a lot of public money subsidizing youth sports in McKinleyville. And it's something that that just is what it is. The district, myself, Greg, James, we met several times with Little League over the last 2 years. In 2015, we decided it was deemed necessary to increase the fees significantly because for several years they were not increased incrementally. We knew we had to do this. We hosted several meetings, invited all the youth sports organizations that were using our fields to the table to discuss what our needs were, what their needs were. And when we made the decision, it was disclosed the decision that we had to make. And then last year, after the 2016 season, we met again with Little League several times because they were not happy with the agreement they had before. They really wanted to take ownership over maintaining the fields and thought they could do a better job. So we created an agreement that allowed that to happen. We have really, and from my perspective, we have put preserving and maintaining that relationship as a priority. But we also have to balance that with maintaining the quality and integrity of our facilities. The social media event that happened is damaging to the relationship. It was not an act of good faith, and I feel like we have really done our part to act in good faith. We're not hiding things. Our information is public. Errors do occur. I'm a human being, I'm a perfect being. So this is just to let the board know that what our process is as staff, and then what the realities are in terms of revenues and expenses.
Any more, gentlemen?
Thank you for that, Leslie. That was very good. It's a very dynamic and complex situation, and I very much appreciate the amount of effort that you put into trying to illuminate on the subject. I just would like to make a couple of comments from my perspective. The relationship between McKinleyville Community Services District and the Little League has always been tough at times. It's been very tough. And other times it's been a little bit easier. Our staff is dedicated to making sure that our relationship with Little League is there and it goes on and it's perpetuated. That's very important to us. I think that the amount, we feel that way so much that the amount of staff time that James and Leslie and I take discussing, figuring out what the budgets are, and how we're going to work out the agreements with Little League, the meetings that we have with Little League. We don't track that time. That time is now charged back against them. We charge that as straight administrative time. Those numbers are they're not reflected in the cost of that facility, the cost of maintenance of that facility, and they can be significant. I think that there were some comments that were made on public media that somehow we were bilking or being dishonest with Little League. As you can see by looking at the totals for 2017 and 2018, that facility costs a significant amount of money to operate. And what Little League pays would not allow us to create some slush fund or ferret money away for something else. It's just a perceived contribution that they pay to help facilitate that facility. We want that facility. Our intent is, as I said, to continue to have a relationship with McKinleyville Little League and to have a facility that they can be proud of. That when they have games and tournaments, that they've got one of the best facilities in the area, and that requires us to keep roofs on the buildings, paint the buildings, maintain the turf, and all things that happen even when Little League's not paying. So we just really would like them to understand that and know that we're willing and ready to negotiate in good faith for the 2019 season.
Any further comments or questions? I had one for Leslie. I can sense the disagreement. What do you think is the best way to approach solving this problem? Do you have any specific recommendations?
I have already, I'm changing my process. So, for example, I just received field use requests from soccer for their 2019 season. So I entered it into our database. My next step will be to send them their estimated total bill based on what they requested so that they know right now what they're looking at and that how important it is for them to submit adjusted time use for what they're actually going to use so that they can get their invoice will reflect what they actually use and will probably, and also they can determine what their capacity is. So, I mean, this is something that we have to do even with our basketball league. We can only afford so much staff per day, per gym, and so our capacity for enrollment is determined by what we can afford per player, and then what the gym space is available. So if a league can only afford, let's say, 400 field use hours at $14 an hour, then knowing that in advance will determine how many players they can have in their league, or perhaps what their fee per player needs to be. So I have that field use request. I can let them know what they're looking at, and then they can make decisions based on paring down that field use so that it becomes affordable for their organization. That's one thing that I intend to do, so that this year when Little League submits their field use requests, I'll do the same thing. They'll know exactly what their total liability could be, In addition, because last year we had a supplemental agreement with Little League where they were allowed to do mowing and stream trimming for credit against their use fees. Knowing that, based on that agreement, the maximum number of hours for mowing the 4 ball fields in a week was 20 hours a week. So over their contract period, which last year was around 29 or 30 weeks, whatever it ends up being this year, if they mowed 20 hours a week, then they would, I would tell them what their maximum possible credit could be at the very beginning, so they could see what their total use is going to cost them, and then subtracting what their maximum credit could be. Just being more proactive in informing the folks and doing the math for them in advance.
And I have one other comment, then we'll open up to the public. The economics of this doesn't work for Little League unless they can do the maintenance. But then what you have is an organized bureaucracy interfacing with a volunteer citizen group. And we got audits, and they're trying to just get volunteers out to do the work. It's a very hard fit. And I'm not surprised that we're here and other organizations I've seen with the same thing, where you got to keep track of the volunteers, make them file their hours, do a lot of the paperwork. It is a process that trouble can happen in 30 seconds. Not the only thing I can think is make sure we have very early warnings. Gee, this looks low. And you're going to have to get something or you lose the money. But it's a very challenging situation. We can't spend too much staff time on it. I mean, if we do that, then we've got to raise rates, and that's not going to solve the problem. But I do want to say we're an organized bureaucracy, got an audit, and when you run a volunteer program, and I know it's very hard to do, get them to submit their expense claims on time, get them to properly document the stuff. It is not easy. But at the same time, it's sort of the system in order for us to have them do the maintenance work so it flows economically. So I just want to tell everyone I recognize it's a tough job, and for both the Little League and yourself. So.
Well, I have some comments, but I want to wait and hear what the public has
Okay.
before I do.
Well, we'll now open it up to the public. Come on up.
My name is Eric Gabriel. I'm the president of the Kennedy Little League, and I just want to thank the opportunity to be here. And I want to thank you, Leslie, for your presentation. Leslie provided most of the information for everything. I'd just like to give a little context here.
Yes, we want to hear from you.
As far as the league's history down there. So we requested past invoices. We wanted to go back to 2005 just to see kind of the history of what Little League has paid, over their duration there. The longest we could get back was we got invoices back to 2013. So I have those here. This is just I read them off emails that I received. But it looks like in 2013, it looks like Little League was billed or invoiced for about $850, but apparently that year the invoice wasn't sent, so there was actually no money paid by Little League. In 2014, we received an invoice, of $1,063, and that was basically the cost of a percentage of the propane and PG&E down at the park. There was no use fees.
What was that amount?
$1,063. In 2015, we received a bill in the amount of $650, and that again was a percentage of the propane and PG&E. In 2016, we were billed nothing, and in 2017, we were billed $10,320. The actual bill was $11,320, but we had a credit of $1,000, so we paid the $10,320. And then in 2018, we were officially invoiced at $5,398. The actual billing was $19,461, but we had the $8,045 credit. So as far as like a context to what we've been paying, and then what we received the past, am I running out of time here?
I'm going to waive time since you're responding on behalf of the party involved in this matter. I will not extend 3 minutes to everybody, but I wanted to make sure you have full time to present.
All right, I appreciate that. I don't have much. I just had some notes that I put down there. So if you take like those two groups, so I'm grouping it up between 2013 and 2016. Our total payment to the district was approximately $1,717. The total cost to the league for 2017 and 2018 was $15,718. So I mean, it's a difference of approximately 14 grand, or around an 800% increase from 2013 to 2016, and then the group of 2017-18. So it just was kind of a shock, really. And I don't have the invoices from the years past just because we couldn't get them. Apparently they're not maintained. So I really don't know what the previous years were. But my assumption is they reflect a lot of how it was between 2013 and 2016. Because the league's always worked out work credits, maintenance credits. And a lot of those zero balances reflected that. So, I mean, the league always, when we take ownership of the field, we do a lot of work there. We get a lot of credit for doing not just mowing and string trimming, but we've done in the years past, we've done like putting batting cages up, new fencing, new outfield fencing. Last year we purchased new scoreboards. We're constantly putting capital improvements into the park to maintain it. As far as like the Facebook incident, I mean, we're not really in control of what people outside our group says, but as an official statement that Little League made, I mean, I don't have it on me, but it was pretty benign. It just kind of stated what, we were a little bit shocked. We opened our bill. It was this amount of money. We kind of just stated some facts in there. I personally, and I don't think my board really is going to state or believe that the district's trying to gouge anyone. I certainly don't think that at all. I rebuke that completely. But ultimately, these fields are just like home to this group of people who year after year dedicate their time down there. There's a big history of these people being involved, continued involvement. There's just been a lot of blood, sweat, and investment going into the Hiller Park complex for Little League. So I just wanted to add some context to the whole thing here, and kind of like where we're at now, looking at our previous costs and then where we're at now. It's a big jump for sure. I think some other people might want to say something, but.
Can I make one
Like
comment?
the board to ask questions if there were. Gentlemen.
Yeah, Eric, as far as the invoicing for those years, that would purely lay on the responsibility of management of the McKinleyville Community Services District. And it's only been for the last 3 years that we've actually tracked what. Let me see if I can phrase this properly. So it's only been for the last 3 years that we've really been paying attention to what it costs to run that facility and to maintain that facility in perpetuity. And now that we know those costs, we've had to adjust the fees. I can't, for the life of me, I cannot speak to why the Little League didn't get billed on some years and got billed $1,000. Leslie can though.
I can speak to 2015 and 2016, and those were directly related to invoices that Lilly paid to Northern Humboldt Employment Services. So you had a contract with them, and they cleaned the restrooms, did landscape maintenance, did all the landscape maintenance that.
Right.
And
It's essentially an equivalent of us doing the work. Yeah.
So there were it was between like $7,000 and $8,000 worth of invoices that were provided to us, and at the time of that covered their these fees.
So you weren't paying the money to McKinleyville Community Services District, you were paying it to Northern Humboldt?
At that time, we were, yes.
Yes.
So that has to be added to what you think you paid Jeff.
Yeah, there's always a cost in what we do. I mean, it's not a, all the volunteer hours, there's value to them. There's always a cost, whether it's someone actually volunteering their time and not being at work for 4 hours one day because he's out in the field, or whether or not we're paying an outside vendor to go out in the field. There's always a cost.
So can I ask one
Yeah.
more question, and then I'll shut up for a while. So Eric, consistent with the agreement that we negotiated early last spring, last winter and last spring, and you signed for the board, the McKinleyville Little League board, and once the true hours, the true time that you're out in the field, and the amount of time that the McKinleyville Little League put forth in mowing and in string trimming and cleaning, what would be your opinion on the agreement and how it worked out once we got a true accounting of the actual time on the fields?
What was my opinion on the agreement we had last year?
Yeah.
Once everything was at the final end of the funnel, when we had to readjust that invoice, down to $5,398. I think that's a fair number, or a fair dollar amount for the league to pay. I mean, that feels fair. I think once that accounting happened, we all kind of said, okay. I mean, I think we all understand that the days, the ship of like these zero balance invoices have sailed. Okay, we understand that. That's just not going to happen. So I think that was a fair and reasonable number that we had. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have two questions. One, we'll put the current dispute in a box. Going forward, are we straight on what needs to be filed, when and where? And is the problem, are we looking in the rear view mirror, or are we looking through the front windshield?
Maybe a little of both. I mean, we get to sit down and have any talks with the staff regarding the upcoming season, as far as our agreement and how we're going to work it. This will be the third year I've been involved in direct negotiations, and 2017 was one agreement, 2018 was a different agreement, and then this one. So I don't know if we have any consistency, but I would like to be able to start that process, but I don't know. We don't have an agreement yet, if that's what you're asking.
Because I think it's crucial that we not add to our grief going forward, that we have a real clear set of procedures everybody agrees is the best way to handle it.
Yeah.
In the contract?
What's that?
In the contract. So
yeah.
that, okay.
Via email with Greg was wanting to, within the last week or two, start the negotiations. He felt it pertinent to wait till this meeting happens and then start them, which is fine. But I did email him an idea for our upcoming season, but we haven't started talking about it yet.
Okay, so I was going to ask you what your solutions for the past were, but if you want to keep that for negotiations with staff, I wouldn't interfere with that process.
Oh, do you want to know what my idea for the future is, or?
Well, one for the future, but also for the past. How do we resolve this? And how much are you objecting to, the dollars or more the process by which they got derived?
The dollars as they stand now, I'm not really objecting to.
Okay.
The process seems like it could be changed. I mean, we've always discussed in our board meetings about working on a kind of a flat rate price with the staff, the district, and then with the understanding that we will continue to do as much or more maintenance as we do down there. So then there's no need to itemize an invoice and keep track of hours and to issue credits. That just all goes away. We can just come up with a deal and go from there.
Okay. I think I understand your position.
I mean, that was my idea. I mean, I'm open to anything
Right.
at this point.
Okay.
I would like to say one more thing. And I think framing, using language that frames that because certain overall operating costs are not being met, that taxpayers are subsidizing Little League Baseball just really isn't a fair way to put it.
But in fact, that is the case. If it may not be fair, a lot of things aren't fair, but if the thing's not paying for itself and the district is using resources to pay for it, then the taxpayers are paying for it. I mean, that's just reality.
So
we're going to try to work that out, but that's part of the conversation about why the Facebook stuff was unhelpful.
I agree some of it was unhelpful.
So,
I'm just wondering, like those operating costs, would that change if Little League?
I'm not saying it will or won't. I'm just saying that blanket statements like that are not helpful or may or may not be factual. We need to work those things out. And I'm not saying the taxpayers are paying more for it, but they very well might be. So we have to keep that open-minded until we get the situation worked out.
And I want to interrupt just briefly, James. We heard it pop, and you're obviously busy cleaning it up. Do we need to take a brief recess while you secure the matter, or you feel confident? I think good.
Maybe we'll have to start using Tupperware glasses.
Director Corbett, could I ask that I could call Eric back when everybody's done, so I can have some comments for him? I'd like to do it after all the comments, so
Sure.
we can have a second chance at the answer question.
All right, well, thank you for the comment.
You get good at that, having come to my house.
So, James, I just want to clarify there are no further safety concerns?
No.
Okay. We'll proceed. Thank you.
My name is Scott Lackey, and I'm a part of the McKinneyville Little League, and I'm here tonight as a ratepayer and a property owner in McKinneyville. And I myself would kind of like to see how your $80,000 is spent down there at Hiller Park. This is kind of a personal issue to me, but most everything down there was fundraised for and paid for by the community through McKinneyville Little League. You're right, the buildings need to be painted and the roofs need to be fixed. That's always been done by McKinneyville Little League. The parking lot was repainted by McKinneyville Little League. The grass was put down with funds from McKinneyville Little League. Fence was built, McKinneyville Little League. So myself, I don't see where your $80,000 is coming into play there. But I mean, I know there are real costs to you, and I would just love to see you expand on that. I'd love to see where your $80,000 went and what the community got for that. I mean, so
There's a PRA right now that's been asked by McKinneyville Little League, so we'll get the last, how many years did they ask for?
2017.
They requested 2017 and 18, so I pulled fiscal year 16, 17, 17, 18, and through December 2018, so half of the current fiscal year.
So there'll be a report itemized down to the cent on where that money all goes.
Anyone else from the public want to speak? Okay, I'll take it back to the board. Any comments? Oh, I'm sorry.
My name is Thomas Saunders, and I'm the safety officer and I'm on the board of directors as well. And I've been coaching for 5 years and spent a lot of time down there with kids. And I just want to say that I know all the financial stuff's really important, but what it gives to the kids and the community is really important. So if we look at, what the other little leagues pay around here for their usage and compare it to what we pay and put that into context. I don't know if I know more people know some of the fees that the other leagues pay, but I just think that it's really important that we all collaborate, and we really appreciate you using the park, and we really appreciate you guys. But we would like to have some sort of a fair agreement that we feel sustainable for our league, and we feel that it's kind of moved away from that point. And I think that overall, what it brings to the community is a really positive thing for the kids and the coaches and everyone involved. So.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else from the public want to speak? Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Board comments?
Well, I want to make sure that we continue our relationship and we'll, work something out that's equitable. Last year, this contract, we worked on it quite a bit on both sides, and I'm disappointed that it didn't work out as well as, we had hoped it would. And, hopefully we'll get something better this year. One of the things, I see, I don't like to think that we're subsidizing Little League. I'd like to think we're supporting Little League, because I think it's an important part of the community. And, I want to see that continues.
Talk about a challenging board item. I think we have everything in here. We've got social issues, your personal investment in the fields, your emotional investment in making sure that Little League happens out there. This is a family matter, and this is a district matter. The financial side of things can be complex. I hope that the records requests help satisfy some of the curiosity about where the costs are. I see it as this is not only communications between individuals, but it's also communications between people and machines. We all know that data entry programs can really make things more complex than they need to be. So what I really hope that we can come to is really a sustainable agreement, and as a part of that, thinking about continuing having this dialogue be maintained from year to year, so really investing in that relationship. And I know our staff is invested, I know Little League is invested, so I would just hope that the dialogue that we bring to our community is that we support, the Services District does support recreation programs, and Little League is so important to our community, and your investment in this resource is very important. I don't personally have a Little League child out there, but you put in not only time and hours, but you put in some really cold hours out there. So I look forward to hearing that we have successfully negotiated for a contract that works for both entities. Thank you for coming here and bringing the perspective that you did, and thank you to our staff for really being invested in Little League and making it work. Thanks.
Remember Malin?
Yeah, thanks. So I give Eric an opportunity if you want to come back and address anything that I say. It's fine. It's more, what I'm going to say is more fundamentally kind of from the history and the heart and that kind of stuff. So, you can take these financial things, you probably way better than me, because anybody is. You can take financial statements. I have talked to our financial director, and when Helen was here, I used to meet with Helen and tell me you can put stuff on paper and convince me of anything when it comes to financial reports. So I don't want you to think that I'm a know-it-all, because I'm not. But I can tell you that when I read the stuff on Facebook, it was hurtful. I've been involved in this thing for, God, way longer than most all of you. When that property got bought by the district, I'd had it for many years as a lease. And then I kept it for, maybe 8 or 9 more years afterwards. So when I hear that we paid for this for the first 10 years, that's not true. I did after it was bought. I paid the lease down there to keep my livestock there. Just a point. So those kind of things come on. Tom Marking spent his after-hour work down there putting the water lines in. I helped him many, many times. I'd come down and feed, found me out there working. I'd stay there till dark with him, working on them water lines. Okay, we did that, So that was to support these fields, and so just it isn't an us against them. Everybody on this board, and ever since I've been here in this community, we've supported this recreation. I'm the one person in town that probably should have kicked about it, because I lost a place to run about 50 head of cows, and I supported it too. Okay, but one of the things that I've known since I've been on the board, been involved in this, is that the maintenance work has been up and down. Little League hasn't always done a good job. Sometimes you've done an excellent job. There's been times when we found that stuff just didn't get done. What the heck? So-and-so was sick. Well, we didn't know. Didn't get done. There's a lot of ups and downs in this over the years. Okay, and so I'm only saying this because I don't want us to rehash any of that stuff. I want us to come up with something that works right. Fair is one of those kind of terms that, what I think is fair and you think is fair may not be the same, but what we've got to do is come up with something that works correctly. And I want to just prime everybody out there. I mentioned it earlier on an earlier agenda item. The money ain't there. The money ain't there. You're getting asked to pony up more. The price of fuel to put in that lawnmower has gone up. Everything. The price of the uniform for those kids has went up. Just everything. And we more than likely are going to have to come back to this public and ask this public to make a decision. This community, are they going to come up with more funds to do this stuff? I think this community will do it because our commitment in this community is to take care of these things. We want them, it's quality of life. But it's not because this district is doing anything untoward to Little League or to soccer or to our other recreational opportunities. We believe in it. So all I'm saying is that when you see something on Facebook, don't put a benign statement on there. Come and say, shut the you-know-what up with that garbage. Come talk to me personally, and then we'll go talk to Greg or something like that. So that's emotional part of it. It was real hurtful to read that stuff. A lot of misinformation, and then I sat here really hard trying to figure out what you were telling me with the numbers. I got no idea what you came up with, partner. So I'm hoping that when you meet with Greg and our staff, and then the community will understand that it may cost us all a little bit more. I don't know. So, those are my comments, guys, and I hope you take it with the feelings that I'm trying to give to it. I'm here. It means a lot to me. I want it to work, but it's got to work for us all.
Fair enough.
Okay. Thanks. Any further public comments, board comments, staff comments? Okay, we're going to move to the next.
Thanks everybody for coming and supporting Little League.
We're going to have the next agenda item, and that's a review of submitted letters of interest and make an appointment selection for the vacant board seat. I want to give an early warning to any nominee who's in the audience. I will give the right to make a very brief 2-minute statement. We already got everyone's answers and questions, but I didn't want to catch you off guard saying, come on up now. So think about what you want to say in your 2 minutes. First, I want to thank the applicants. This is the richest group of applicants almost imaginable for this board. And it took a lot of people taking their time and their effort and their desires to serve the community, and I'm pretty darn impressed. And I also want to thank the McKinneyville community for offering and giving us so much in a way of a choice. We have Frank Basic, an attorney par excellence. We have Rita Caroli, a communications dysfunction expert. We have Bonnie Oliver, a licensed architect. We have a retired McKinneyville teacher who taught at the high school level, architecture, drafting, and building. We have a Sherry Barsante, a CPA. We have Eric Reidenberg, a Native American, and I believe the first Native American to run for our board and the first to apply in a board seat vacancy. We have a prominent realtor in the form of Maya Coonrod. We have Chelsea Rios, who construction specs and for environmental and restoration projects. We have and James Van, a worker who's also been a very active community member. So that's just a great slate.
Say Dina?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. My bad.
Okay. So the first thing is you need 3 votes to be appointed. And even a majority of the quorum is 3, or since we have sufficient numbers, it's 3 votes. So I wanted to make that very clear to people. After we're done with the statements and questions, then I'm going to have a straw vote process, but because of changes to the Brown Act, it's a public straw vote process. So I wanted to let board members know that, and that's going to be, you're going to put a 2 down for your number 1 pick and a 1 down for your second pick, and then we'll see, and that ought to sort out the applicants. Otherwise, you're going to be discussing 9 people.
No, I understand. I just process-wise. I don't understand why 2 would be your 1 and 1 would be your 2.
Well, because you want the higher number of votes. That's why. So the people that are preferred would get the highest numerical level.
Okay,
and
I'll follow the rules. This is like accounting. I don't get it. But
yeah, okay. I feel a little insulted to compare me to accounting, but under the circumstances, I'll take it and comply.
After you're done explaining the process, can I request a short break?
Yes. Okay. So I'm actually done with the process, so we'll have a short break, and then we will have any applicant that's here will be given 2 minutes. Board members can ask questions, and then we'll get it into a straw vote. Part of it is with 9 members, and we only got 4 board members. We know after 1 vote the field's going to narrow down substantially, and I think that will help us make a better decision. So.
And will there be any comments by the board members ahead of time or not?
And that's, there'll certainly be ample opportunity prior to the straw vote to comment, and there will be, because it would require another motion to appoint, there will be ample opportunity for board members to speak at that moment too. So you'll have 2 shots to make your comments to the board of directors.
May I?
All directors will.
This is quite an unusual board item, and if it is in your favor, maybe make a statement prior to the applicant's statements. Maybe have, like we're discussing a board item.
That was kind of my question.
Yeah, so we have it in front of us, we make comment, and then we request.
I didn't state it very well. That was kind of
okay. Well,
but it's up to you. You're running the meeting. Tell me what you want to do.
What we had as background is board member Wheeler resigned for health reasons, which has had a good effect on his health, by the way. That left a vacancy on the board. We then are going to make an appointment, and then that will last, I believe, a year. And then after that, it'll be in the electoral process. And if we don't do this, then the County Board of Supervisors will appoint. And I think everyone decided, let's keep it local.
Yeah, this needs to be, we need to give the county who the board is appointed by February 8th.
Right. So that means we have to stay here all night if we have to make the decision.
Pretty damn quick.
All right. With that, I'm going to call a 10-minute break, but it's a real 10 minutes. I was going to call a 5-minute one, but no one follows those, so I'll give a 10. Everyone's ready?
Yeah, when I'm
We're calling the meeting back to order, and I'm just going to go down the list of nominees in the order that there are for exhibits. And so the first person who can choose to speak 2 minutes is Frank Basic. And you got to come to the microphone. Thanks.
Hi there, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff, Mr. General Manager. Hello, everybody. My name is Frank Basic. I've provided a curriculum vitae and a letter of interest, and I don't want to just repeat that stuff. So let me just, rather than honk my horn, honk yours to start with. We love McKinleyville. My wife and I have lived here a couple of years now. We've lived all over from Neyland to King Salmon and the Eureka area and Cutton and the like. We've been searching for homes in which to retire and live out the rest of our lives, and we found McKinleyville to be just what we need. Among other things, I particularly like the form of government in this civic governance through Community Services District. I'm a land use lawyer, have been for 32 years. I've worked for private clients, institutional, corporate, individual landowners and the like. I help them with their permits and defend their property rights over the years. A couple of 15 years ago, I switched to become a corporate lawyer, and I was the general counsel and vice president for the Pacific Lumber Company. Over the years, I worked for LP and GP and other timber companies, as well as viticulturalists in the Ukiah Valley area. I know a lot about the business of this board. In fact, I'm something of a student of the MCSD.
Need to sum up.
My job in Scotia is as president of the Town of Scotia Company. I helped form the Community Services District there. I applied for and went through the LAFCO process, and we patterned that CSD after this one. So I'm interested in, at this point in my career, utilizing my energy and my experience in a public service context. And I understand this is sometimes a thankless job.
You need to sum up, sorry.
And I'm ready to do the heavy lifting that's required for something like this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Rita Carley here. Okay. Is Bonnie Oliver here?
I am Bonnie, and I'm interested in the position. I've been interested in MCSD since I first worked on the library room that we were discussing earlier. The Senior Center wants to work on. That was my first introduction to MCSD, working with the Friends of the Library. But anyway, I've lived here 27 years. I live on the east side of Central. I've noticed that the representation of that side of the community is lacking on the board, so that would be one thing. I live right near the town center border, and am someone who does walk McKinleyville, walks to all the businesses, user of flashing light crosswalks. So anyway, so those are more of the personal reasons that I'm interested in what goes on in McKinleyville. I'm also an architect. I'm the only McKinleyville architect. As an architect, you have to know enough about many things to bring a project together. You have to know about budgets, you have to know about the user's needs, you have to know about community planning issues, you have to know about structural issues, mechanical issues, utilities and plumbing and electric. You have to know enough to make your project come together. You also have to know when you need to bring in an expert. That's the skills I bring to MCSD. my ability to bring many various fields together and bring it to a cohesive project finish. I noticed all the projects on your list, and I would be happy to bring my skills to helping you with those.
Thank you. David Enos.
Good evening. I'll give you the condensed version quickly, I hope. I moved to Humboldt County in 1973, got a degree in forestry, Bachelor of Science in 1976. Worked in the timber industry for 6 years, got a vocational teaching credential, have an industrial technology teaching credential. I have a contractor's license, and my community involvement, I've lived in McKinnville since 1991. Know a bunch of you guys here. I've been involved in with sports, coaching, baseball, basketball, soccer, worked with a lot of kids, but I was over at the high school for 23 years. We built 16 homes with high school kids. We actually built a law enforcement facility with high school kids. Maybe some of you don't know that, but we built that facility with high school. And I really like working with kids. I like working with the community. I've been involved in this community and had a lot of input, have a trash bash. I also have my own construction company that's kind of fading off, but I think I still have a couple of good years left. And I think that as I transition out of the educational world, I've those contacts that I've had and working with the community and permits for getting houses and building houses and trying to do cutting edge construction projects and learning about new ways of doing business that I believe that the research and things that I've done, the skills that I've learned would allow me to plug in and be I think a positive addition to the board here. And I don't need a job. I mean, I'm doing okay, but like I said, I think I have a couple of good years left, and I think I can do a good job in helping you to maybe think about some new projects and things. We can do some things here for our community. I love this place, and I plan on being there for a while. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Shel Barsante.
Hi, I'm Shel Barsante, and I've lived in McKinnville since 1977. My father, Bob McDonald, worked for Mr. Pearson, and he actually poured the base of the swimming pool. So that's one of the reasons we came and moved up here. So McKinnville means a lot to me. I remember coming up here as a little girl. I'm a CPA. I have my own business with two other CPAs at the McKinnville Airport Business Park. And I'm the administrative CPA there. I run the business. And then I also have done audits for Willow Creek Community Service District and Orleans Community Service District, so I'm very familiar with regulations, what to look for. I can read audit reports and interpret them. Being a CPA, I'm real good with finances, so I think that might be something that would be a wonderful addition to your board. I would really like the opportunity to help you with that. And really appreciate the job that all of the prior folks have done on the board, and I would love to continue that. And I also have 5 grandchildren, and I live here in McKinnville, so I'm interested in all of the park and rec. And with Leslie, we met her before, and she's helped us with all of our kids, all our grandkids. And I just want to say thank you so much. I'm so excited that there's so many folks that came out for this position, so whoever does get it, I just appreciate that so many people have come out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Eric Reitenberg.
Chairman, thank you for letting me speak. I've had the honor of running for the McKinnville Community Service District in 2018 and received about 14.77% of the vote. A few hundred votes. I was very honored to have that. It's a very powerful year for me and for Humboldt County in general. Just a lot of big changes and a lot of hard work that a lot of community members pulled together to do that I'm lucky to be a part of. I'm happy to see so many people have stepped up for this position. I knew that McKinnville has lots of qualified, really talented people, and Humboldt County has low voter turnout. So it's just, I love to see people getting involved in democracy and being engaged. George Wheeler is a phenomenal member of the board. You know, getting glyphosates and things like that removed from the McKinley Hills Community Service District was very inspirational to me. It was very encouraging to me. As a Green Party member here in Humboldt County, Georgia is one of the people that has been an elected representative who's been sort of an inspiration to all of us. And I know that he still wants to be on this board. And he's fighting this fight, and he's been winning over the years. And so in 2020, it's likely that he'll come back. So this is an appointed position that'll last till 2020, and I would love and appreciate the honor to be able to serve on the board until that time, which I really hope to see George Wheeler come back and finish. He has a lot of great ideas, a lot of things that we want to see complete. My family's been involved with environmental restoration for as long as I can remember. My traditional homelands are Kawalali, which is the Russian River, not the Russian River, down in Jenner, California, where my great-grandma actually was involved with rebuilding all the water lines there. Once upon a time, our island water resource was crushed by a boat, and it ended up being a big deal. And so I'm very excited to be a part of building skate parks and things like that. So I hope I get a chance to serve.
I just wanted to thank you for relating the history of Governor Burnett, as the truth needs to be spoken on such matters, and reminding us again that we are in We'ot ancestral territory.
Oh, thank you.
The next person is Chelsea Rios. Is Chelsea here? Okay. The next person is Maya Conrad.
Hello, members of the board and MCSD staff. I brought a few letters of support to share with you all from McKinleyville residents and business owners in the area. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and to apply for this vacancy. I got letters of support from Lisa Dugan and John Calkins, who are here tonight somewhere, and they're my neighbors. Also Greg Anderson, longtime resident, and he's been my broker for several years. My neighbor Carol Kleiman, who's a member, who's been very involved in the chamber. Rob Hanson, who's a broker owner of Community Realty and also a neighbor of mine, and former estate planning attorney Kat Koshkin. So I have a proven track record as a leader, and I care deeply about McKinleyville and our community, and I'm very interested in serving the community in a leadership capacity. I recently have a little more time in my life to do so, having cared for my elderly father for many years, and so I'm excited to have the opportunity to give back to the community. A hallmark of my professional career has been working with diverse constituents regarding both land use and watershed issues. So I think that my professional background is relevant to community service with the district. I would be very excited and honored to serve MCSD as somebody who is good at being mission-driven and excellent at serving the population that I'm representing. I would be very thrilled to work on some of the upcoming projects that you have, and also addressing some of the Parks and Rec budget shortfalls and strategizing on those. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is James Vance here? James Vance. Okay, Mr. Vance is not here. That concludes the candidate statements. I'm going to take it back to the board for any discussion. At the end of that discussion, board members are going to be asked to fill out a 2 for their number 1 pick and a 1 for their second pick. Those will be given to Emily. Emily will pass it to Colleen. Colleen will put it on the screen. Okay, any board members want to speak before we vote?
Once again, want to thank everybody. It's like a plethora of talent tonight. I don't know. Makes the decision much more difficult because we have so many well-qualified people. Thank you.
Board Member Bird.
having the opportunity to appoint a board member is a very interesting board item. It gives us the chance to talk about our board. So I hope you don't mind if I take a minute to do so. I wrote some notes about it. And first, I just want to start. My perception is that the general public and you all as candidates do approve of the work of the directors, as there was only one challenger in the last election, but given that you don't have to run against an incumbent, that we bring out the talented people in our community to come and serve. And I say that also because that is the situation I was in when I ran in my election. And so I am so glad to see so many talented applications for this seat, and that, as you all know, there's only one seat available, and given this, I hope you will continue to come to the district and look for other opportunities in the community to those of you who are not selected. I also wanted to provide a short perspective on sitting here in my seat with the long-term directors to follow up that statement about continuing to look for opportunities with the district. The dialogue we had during the last election is we need to find and attract new, younger board members to carry out and forward the good work that this board has been doing. And I am so glad to see that we have a diverse set of applications that are diverse in age, gender, making assumptions of how you identify, as well as Eric as an Indigenous person. And then I just wanted to say our job up here, management of finances and making sound decisions fiscally, very important, setting direction for the district, very important, attention to the legislative side of our work, that we play a role and we have a voice with our legislators, is such a strong thing that this board of directors brings, especially with our longer term directors. And then, as we've had recently, the trickier items of how to handle public involvement in interests in an open and transparent way that are also appropriately forward thinking. And we've had some of those, just to sort of, forewarn you that it's not all water, wastewater, streetlights, open space, and recreation. There are a number of things that have come up, and they have been addressed. We talked about single-payer health care and took an action on that, and we've also dealt with racial equity with Director Mayo as chair to look at discrimination and protection for the district's interests against discrimination of all protected classes. So, to me, it is a varied job, and it's about doing your research and asking questions. And taking the time to sit on committees, as you heard me earlier talk about the rewarding experience of working with the seniors at the Senior Center. And also, within the next 2 years, we're looking at hiring a general manager, and that is going to be quite a big and important thing that this district is going through, both for the board and for staff, as we move into that new condition. So, thank you for applying.
Well, first of all, the candidates are so good, I feel like I should resign to make room for more appointments. But I do want to thank people for making the effort. I do want to say, and we have, that's a lot better. I do want to say we have frank discussions here, and that's how it's got to be. And so recreation and some troubles have come up there. But I want to give the overall finances of the district are very sound. And yes, we will have to deal with that, and we will deal with that. But it's in the context of one of the most robust recreational programs of any special district. We're really noteworthy at a statewide level for that, and for a very small level of population. So, yeah, it needs to be dealt with, but I don't want to give a misimpression. We're in a very solid financial state, and we worked really hard to get there. And probably the hardest thing as board members is keeping us there, because that means setting aside reserves to replace pipes and reserves to replace the pump stations, and which is very unexciting. And then you have really neat projects over here, but if you spend the money over there, you're not maintaining your district. So I did want to give the overall finances. Second major item is we will, in the next 3 years, our general manager said he loves us, but not so much to stay with us. It may be much shorter. Next, might even be the end of this meeting, no. But what we do have upcoming is that we will be charged with replacing the general manager. That's a major decision. There's actually a management shortage for water agencies throughout the state of California. And so it's very hard to get good people. And it's more than, you need the engineering, you need the practical skills, but you also need the human skills, and you need the ability to relate to the McKinleyville community. It's a tough combination. We'll be put to the test to make a good job on that. With that, I have nothing further to say, and we'll turn it over to Board Member Mayo.
Well, thank you, John. I agree with everything that the other board members said, and I want to really thank the members of the public that have stepped up to this. It makes me feel really, really good. I want to thank you all for that. I just wanted to say that, I don't know whether any of the rest of you did, but you may want to note this if you did, that I had some contact with some of the applicants. I had spoken to Shel Barsanti, and I spoke with Dave Enos, and then I actually had a meeting with Maya Conrad, and I just wanted to, give that, not postpartum communication, it's postpartum in my conversation. And I was very, very impressed with those meetings, and all three of you, and you're all on my short list. And then somebody that I did meet with, application I finally saw, and wow, there's one app there that is pretty impressive. It puts my decision here a little different than what I thought it was going to be right off the bat. But what I want to say is that it's very important for the community to understand that this is a business. This is a item. This is a business decision. This is not a political decision. As a constitutional body, we do not discriminate in any way, not ethnic, not gender, no type of intersectionality, nothing. Knowing how a CSD works and having the skill sets ready to work for MCSD seems to me to be the correct business decision for this board to make. So that's what we're tasked with tonight. And so again, I just want to thank all of you. We're going to make a decision, and there's no any one of you step into this job and do a fine job. My position, what I'm looking for, is somebody that's going to give me the absolute best bang for my buck. Okay. If I was still rodeoing for a living and my bulldog and horse was doing everything in the world, but my Hazen horse wasn't any good, I'd be looking for the best Hazen horse I could find, not just a horse that's okay and that can't do the job. I want a sucker that's going to shave off that 1,000th of a second and put me in the winner's turn box. And so that's the way I look at all of this. And I just want you all to know that I'm very proud of all of you. And we're going to make a decision. And it's going to be okay no matter what the decision is.
No?
Oh,
Go ahead,
well,
I'm sorry.
thank you for prompting a discussion or a disclosure on who we've talked to. I have talked with Bonnie Oliver as well as Maya Conrad previous to this meeting about this board seat.
I talked to Mike on.
I did too.
You did too, what?
Talk to Mike.
Thank you.
That's the only one I've done.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, any further comments? Then what we're going to do is.
I go
Dennis,
ahead. Didn't you get appointed initially to the board?
I did.
So you've had this experience.
I've had this experience, and I want to point out that I was defeated 3 times in a row running for election. So I've been a part of this thing for a lot of years.
All right. Any further comments? Okay. We're going to do this ranking system, and we think out of it we'll get a reduced slate of candidates that we'll then discuss. So if all the board members can take on a sheet of paper, write your name.
We've got it.
Oh, okay.
We don't need to write our name.
I read it for you.
So now it says first and second. But is the first going to get 2 points?
Yes,
the second get 1? Or
I
still
think
got me
our
confused?
terminology may have confused the matters. Your first choice should be a 2. Your second choice should be a 1, so that we can get a numerical ranking.
Well, I think that if the board just picks their favorite person and then their runner-up, that will be fine, and then we can assign. We know how to weight the votes.
Okay, well, but we got a first and second marked on this sheet.
Right. The first one would be your favorite, and the second would be your runner-up.
Right.
And this is fine. I had hoped that we would have, this is fine, but I would have liked to have had us put 1, 2, 3, 4, and then saw how that went. But any way you do it, it's going to shake out. Or actually, they could have wrestled. That could have been fun.
And actually, I should remind the board that it's not a decision tonight, it's a decision tonight before midnight.
Record on time tonight, John. I don't know. I'm moving it so fast.
Yeah. Perhaps we should disclose the amount of time we usually spend in here for a board meeting.
Yeah, a lot of you, we don't get out of here until after midnight most of the time.
Well, close to midnight.
Let's make sure.
Oh, God almighty.
Okay.
And at each stage, I want the board to, for sure, inform me if they're feeling rushed or left out. We want everybody included at each step, so don't defer to the chair this one time.
Can we get somebody to make a Taco Bell run?
We're not going to be here that long.
No. So now I'm confused as to what the ones and the twos mean now. Is that 2 votes for that person or 1 vote?
2s or 2 votes? I'm not.
No.
Yeah.
They're scored. They're weighted, so they're scored. could you increase the font on the columns? Thank you.
The other ones are
20.
20.
That's close enough.
Pretty clear winner to me.
Do we want any discussion? Otherwise, someone suggests that we have 3 votes unless someone changes their vote.
I'm happy with the outcome, and I would, subject to board communication, I would move to accept this vote.
You move what?
To accept this vote.
Oh, okay. Is there a second?
I think it is clear the way the votes have landed, and I second the vote.
Okay. I want to make it very clear, you can accept this vote and it still not be a vote for the candidate. So is the intent of the maker of the motion is we're accepting the vote to be our candidate?
That is my intent.
Okay. Is that intent of the second?
It is.
Okay. Then please call the roll.
Director Burke? Aye. Director Couch?
Aye.
Director Mayo?
Yes.
President Corbett?
Yes. I want to tell some of the candidates, I was so impressed with you. I won't let you go. I want to talk to you more because I think there are some real skill sets this district needs and viewpoints. And so I want to take the advantage when we're done with this process to really sit down and talk with some people on future possibilities, different roles with the district, and how we keep your different viewpoints. So with that, I believe we've made our decision.
And let's just to clarify for the public what the process is. We will seat our new director next month when it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the board meeting next month, you'll be sworn in. He'll be sworn in. If for some reason we have a special meeting between now and then, we'll have that as the beginning of the meeting to swear you in. The important thing is that by February 8th, we have to report back to the County Elections Commission that we've appointed you for the position. You're officially on the board as of now, but we'll hold off and swear you in at the first Wednesday in March meeting.
Goodness, thank you.
Welcome to the board.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just like to echo what's been said many times. Thank you so much to everybody who put in a letter of interest for this. It was really, really good to see the sheer volume of input and participation that we have. Thank you very much for the time that you took, the very thoughtful letters that you wrote, and your community spirit and community participation. Thank you very much.
Yeah. If Corbett decides that he wants to resign, so will I, and we've got a couple more of you on. Because there's a lot of you out there who are doing better at this than me.
Oh, thanks, because I don't have anything better to do but get 3 board members up in the room.
There you go. I don't think John's ever embarrassed, so I'm saying.
All right, everyone. Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Next item is E8. review information for the draft capital improvement plan for the Parks and General Fund.
I get something to spend $5 on Thursday at the Rotary meeting. You get something to spend $5 on at the Rotary meeting, announcing each on the board. Oh, Lordy, Lordy.
So, not only you have a job on the board, you got a second job, Shell, because I don't understand these financials. You're going to have to sort them out. That was Helen's job.
Hey. So we're on 109, our draft capital improvement plan for parks.
Staff, this is an information overview. Staff recommends that the board review and discuss the draft capital improvement plan for the Parks and General Fund.
Would have been nice if the Little League people would
For
stay.
fiscal year 1920. The detailed draft of this fiscal year 1920 capital improvement plan for the Parks and General Fund is attachment 1. It does cover the next 10 fiscal years, although only the next fiscal year will be included in the budget. The majority of the budgeted expenditures are planned to be covered by assessments and user fees. This allows the district to take a little more structured approach to setting future user fees. Funding for other projects depends on grants. Which ones you'll have to probably talk to Leslie and James about that. But actually getting those projects executed depends on whether or when the grants are awarded. Projects that do not meet the definition of fixed assets, of course, will be treated as regular expenditures, and they will be paid from operating funds, and they will show up in the final budget, or the actual draft operating budget that's scheduled to be brought to the board in April. Questions for anyone about any items?
Anyone? I had a question, or maybe a comment. I'm happy to see, well, it sounds funny to be happy about spending money, but but I'm happy to see we're working on replacing the flooring. For Azalea Hall, and so that is the start of us starting to take care of the buildings. And my question is, we were going to take all our facilities and decide how much we needed to set aside. How close does this document take us to getting that done or establishing a reserve off of it?
I'll take a stab at this. So the information in here for the 10-year projection is directly from that plan that we had started, but it wasn't complete when we had our workshop.
Yeah.
So we've been populating that, and so the dollar amounts for the next 10 years for things that meet the cap, the $5,000, I don't know what you call it. Thank you. Are from that plan. There are things in that plan that don't meet that threshold. So, and that's if we can bring that document and show it to you, it has almost a complete total. There's still a few items that we haven't looked up because they're so far out from meeting. Their lifespan is so long still that we haven't looked at the replacement cost for that yet. So, is that helpful?
Yes, I think you're saying it does give us a pretty good picture of what it's going to be. Well, I want to say that's a very quick response from our study session. and I thought we were going to be another 3 months before we got here. So I'm very appreciative of your hard work and trying to fill all this in, because then when we get this, and we have the reserve for the pipes, and we got the reserve for pump station replacement, and we have our other reserve, we're going to be able to determine the true cost of running the district in all the different sections and make our best stab at funding those. So I really appreciate this completes a process that was, or not completes it, but almost does, started 7 years ago.
We need to know how much we need to save.
I'm sorry, what?
We know how much we need to save.
Yeah.
Target anyway.
Yeah. And saving's always hard, because there's a lot of good things money can be used for besides savings. But by doing this, we will have the true cost of running the district. We'll have it reduced to a single chart, and we're working with Colleen to get that fleshed out, and we're going to be there, I think, in 6 months. So I'm very happy that it's going to be complete.
Well, that and having that clear is going to help us when we decide if we have to go back to the public, and it will be a clear statement to the public too.
Yeah. And I think that the maintenance plan is a little bit more detailed than this is, because you can see that this is a 10-year snapshot. There's stuff on here that you don't see because you don't get to see the full 20-year picture. What we use in our planning is a 20-year picture, and regardless of when it needs to be replaced, and as you saw in the maintenance plan, it itemizes each individual thing. It tells you when it was brand new and how many years and how much it's going to cost to replace it.
I look at replacing the flooring in here, and then also replacing. The flooring happens over 2 years. The next 2 fiscal years. Is that right?
Yeah, so the 2020, that's the stage. And then in 2021, it's the Hewitt room and lobby.
And in addition, we have the wall and window covering replacement. And if at all possible, our relationship with the senior center provides if it does provide an opportunity for us to look for grant funds that address a nonprofit like the senior center's activities, and we can use that relationship, if it were of interest to them, to be a partner in looking for grant funds to revitalize a hall that's used for a lot of senior activities. That could be a way to offset the flooring, so the flooring directly related to the activities, and then the the wall covering replacement. I know the senior center has started to produce art shows, and they've been interested in hanging art in the lobby. So if the walls were considered a part of, an artistic show with the seniors, there could be a way, if they were interested in working in partnership with us, it's about framing, right? Reframe this building in terms of meeting the needs of our partners. So I don't know what kind of opportunities exist for that type of building revitalization, but the needs of our seniors are great, and this facility serves them.
And I have a concept I want to throw out to management to provide a helpful suggestion, but I think we need to develop, we in setting up these tables, have what we need to save. And that's a very sound approach, and what you need to save by when you have the money, and then you're properly adjusting for your cost. But throughout government, of course maintenance generally doesn't get grants, but throughout government we get grants. And grants really have an effect on how much we have to save. The way we have it now is we're saving, even if we got a grant and potentially overfunding. And the only concern I have is it's getting a little tight in the district, and we're going to have to
Can I
measure our savings.
Let me ask you a question, some feedback from Colleen, if that's okay. Is that a truism that the grants are supposed to offset your savings portfolio? I don't think it is.
No, that's what I'm saying, but I think we need to have a system for doing that, or otherwise we're oversaving.
Okay, I'm not getting quite what you're saying.
Well, there's a couple different things that happen with grants. One is that they frequently require matching funds.
To some extent.
Yeah, to a certain extent, and it can be a small percentage match. It can be 100% match. You can have up to $1 or $2 to $1 match. There's all kinds of that covers the gamut. But they do frequently require some kind of match, either in cash or in kind. The other thing about grants is that it's one thing to depend on them for things that are nice to have, good to have, improvements. It's another thing to depend on them for necessities, because the grant approval process is not a certain one. There are no certainties. What may get funded one time will get rejected another time. And so when we're looking at grants for projects, we have to be careful. You may be right. We may be talking about oversaving, but there are a lot of things that are necessities where we really can't rely on them. And if we get them, it's a windfall. We can move the savings to something else. But
to clarify my point, I'm not recommending that we give a plugged grant figure. What I am recommending is if we get an actual grant, that we have some way to appraise how that affects our savings rate. Like, let's take expanding, we have 3 sets of pipes that go under 101 and translate expensive, expensive, expensive to expand. If we were to get grants for all of those, we're saving $1 million a year for pipes. Some of that $1 million a year is to incorporate those very expensive projects. So I think until we have something banked, we have to save for what's necessary, period. And I'm not suggesting doing a grant plug figure, although some public entities do that.
No, we wouldn't do that. So,
but if we get a grant, then we need to think through: do we keep saving as though we don't get a grant, or do we bank it somehow in the system in a very specific way? I don't have the answer. I'm more telling management, think about it and get back to a report with us.
So that was kind of my question, more involved, because I don't know whether you have to have a policy, whether you can have any kind of a policy that you want, whether the grants will dictate some of that or not, I don't know. But from John's scenario, I wouldn't want those grants to dictate at all what we do in our reserve policy. No matter what, whether it saves us $1 million or not, I still think we need to keep our reserves. So that's just a comment, because I don't know. I'd like to have that information in a more absorbable fashion for me, so that I can say, yeah, I think you're doing the right thing, or not. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if we're
I think one of the things that that grant opportunities do say, or that the grants do say, open up opportunities for things that you would like to do that you might not necessarily have the capital.
Right, that's different.
And that's a little bit different. But I think that when you hit that sweet spot and you've got something that you need to take care of because it's a capital requirement, and a grant is available, and you end up getting it, then you run into the situation that I think you're talking about, to where you need $1 million for this project. You get a grant that say covers 3/4 of it, so there's $750,000. That $1 million, then you only need $250,000 of it. what happens to that other $750,000? And that's a really good question, and I would say that we'll find something to do with that money.
Right.
And with the water and the sewer, every 5 years you're reassessing those necessities. So it's not the same as like the Parks and Rec department. So basically every 5 years when you redo your rates, that basically everything resets back
Right.
to zero.
That was my suggestion of one way to handle it, because we'll have what our replacement needs are and what they cost, and we hire a professional to estimate the amortized reserve. And if we do that every 5 years, then that includes the grants. And if we're willing to be that patient, which there's a lot of, you want to be orderly about these things, and that may be the solution to the issue. It's just that when we get the new professional reports, they automatically include past grant history. And if that accelerated the rate of replacement is already banked, then they presumably should show that in their study. So I think that your suggestion on the 5 years is a good way to handle that.
So with that example, and that's kind of where I was thinking. So this is in a reserve savings type account for an infrastructure project. Generally, we have some general categories, but then we have some specifics. We're saving X amount of money for the 100 years on the pipe replacements. Okay. If the grant comes in that goes directly to that pipe replacement and we only have to spend $250,000, but we budgeted that money for pipe replacement, I think we need to look at some kind of a protocol that if that money can't stay in that pipe deal, that it actually stays in some kind of a holding mechanism for infrastructure that we've got set up. Now, we may not have to do that. I don't know. I'm just asking questions.
So let's circle back around and be more specific to Parks and Rec department, since we're talking about But so I think at this point in time, we've deferred enough maintenance that regardless of how many grants we get, that money that's allocated for that capital improvement project can be spent on something that should have been spent on before anyway.
And there's not.
And I would say that for the foreseeable future, that's going to be a reality.
I'm less worried about Parks and Rec. It came up because of Mary's comment of getting grants is what prompted the overall thought process. But I like your thing. We have a couple of protections. One, we have a 10-year capital project list, and that sort of shows where things are, and if something disappears off of it, we just have less. We have most of these things because we've got the state, and we don't want the money to go to the state for all these complex reasons. We have to have it tied. To have it tied, you need a professional study, and I think your suggestion on that answers a lot of my question. That might be a superior way, because we don't want to, we're getting a lot of wheels spinning here, and I don't want to get too complexity is costly all by itself.
So just tell me that, and I may be getting way too much in the weeds on this. If I am, I'm sorry. In the Park and Rec budget, and we need to do this, that, and the other, and we get some money, it frees up some other money. As long as we keep using it in Park and Rec, do we have the flexibility to do that?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I was concerned
We
about.
have the flexibility
Thank
to
you.
do that.
Okay.
I have a few more questions.
Yeah, we're just warming up. Go, Mary, go.
Sorry, but the law enforcement facility, is expansion of that facility part of what we're budgeting for? Is that coming out of county funds? How is that, where and how is that happening?
Do you want me to?
Are you talking about the $16,000 that's budgeted for next year?
Well, that's for flooring, and I'm not seeing anything that looks like a new building, and I was just curious if it's going to show up in our books, it's not.
No, I don't think, I would say that this is going to be a Measure O, Measure Z type of thing, and that will we'll work that out between us and the sheriff's department. I can't see us having the capital to be able to provide an expansion to that facility, unless we were to go back to the public with another assessment.
And I think the sheriff has that understanding as well.
And because we've talked about that. Sheriff Hansel and I have had that discussion already.
For the library projects, I see it says carpet replacement, and I, in fact, was studying my word pact over there before the meeting, and they're very excited about that. But I want to note that there's 2 types of flooring in the library, and just like this room is experiencing, these pockets of the linoleum tiles that are coming up, they have that going on as well. Should that be flooring, and will it handle both the linoleum area as well as the carpet, or is it just budgeted for carpet? Yes, but I heard that the linoleum is under 5,000. Is it slated for this fiscal year?
We haven't gotten to the operating budget part fully yet, so I would think so, and I can't say for certain right now.
But it depends on whether we need that $5,000 to balance the budget.
And the yellow highlighted Hewitt Ranch parking and amenities development. Why is it highlighted yellow?
Because Greg has to make a decision.
Because, why did we highlight that yellow?
Because we didn't unhighlight it.
We marked it first.
It's a note because it's got your name on it. The note in the thing, it's highlighted because it's always a question for Greg whether we're going to leave it there.
Oh, okay. So anyway, that will move. That will probably move. And the reason why that's there is because the Parks and Rec Department will be the beneficiary of that property purchase, because it will then give us access to Hewitt Ranch Park, and it will allow us to then be able to go after grant funding to be able to put in a parking lot and some restrooms and things like that, or at least, I think that Leslie's long-term vision for that is probably a visitor center, parking lot and restrooms, and development of that area for a bunch of really fun and cool stuff. So
change facilities.
Yeah, no. So anyway, I think that that's just our placeholder. It's not. I do not see us spending $120,000 before June 30th, 2020 for parking. But who knows? Maybe we will. It depends on how the property negotiations go for that.
So that's related to the water tank development?
It's basically related to the water tank, and it was specific to be able to utilize that property, to be able to finally be able to utilize, which has been in inventory for more years than I care to think about. We will definitely need access, and we plan on accessing that from there.
So that changes significantly the total planned capital expenditures if we're not planning to spend that $120,000.
Correct.
Drops it down to 83. That's all I have.
Okay, David? Yes?
Thank you very much for all the hard work.
And just keep filling in those spaces, because we're really making a lot of progress. And like I said, I didn't expect something this level of refinement for another 3 months, so I'm very happy. The next item is consider approval of resolution 2019-02. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got to open it up to the public. Does the public, this is, we're not making an actual decision, but we're referring it to Parks and Rec. Do anyone from the public want to make a comment on the Parks and Rec proposed capital budget?
Discussion.
Okay. So, now we'll move to E9. Consider approval of resolutions 2019-02, designating subrecipients authorized agent for the purpose of hazard mitigation grant subaward for the emergency generator upgrade. And I'll call on our general manager, and this will require a motion and vote when we get to it.
Thank you, President Corbett. Resolution 2019-02 is intended to designate the general manager as authorized agent for MCSD. The resolution, however, does not supersede MCSD's expenditure control policy or any way modify the general manager's discretionary spending. Translate that this resolution in no way binds the district to any sort of monetary decisions, and does not allow me to make any modifications that were not already approved via the expenditure control policy. It's just part of the process that we need to go through for this hazard mitigation grant. Staff recommends that the board review the information provided, take public comment, and approve resolution 2019-02, which is attachment 1, designating the general manager as authorized agent for the purpose of the hazard mitigation grant subaward for the emergency generator upgrade.
Subject to board discussion and public comment, I move to approve resolution 2019-02 as described in item E9.
Second.
Okay. Anyone from the public want to discuss this matter? Comment on this matter? Okay. Can you please call the roll?
Director Burke? Aye. Director Couch?
Yes.
Director Mayo?
Yes.
President Corbett?
Aye. Next item is E10, review information regarding process for upcoming employee negotiations. Greg Orsini, General Manager. Type of action, none. With that, I'll call on staff.
Thank you. Oh, E0, E1 should be. So, anyway, so it's that time of the year again, or that time of the 3-year cycle. This last cycle, the board decided with staff recommendation. There we go.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
You've already
We're
done.
looking for page 120.
You've already done everything up to February 6th, I take it.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, basically the board approved the negotiations that were conducted 3 years ago, and those negotiations basically end on June 30th of this year. So it's time again for the board to start up. The employees have designated a main and a backup negotiator for each department, and the board negotiating committee will be asked to schedule a meeting to discuss with the board or with the staff at that time. You can see that via the resolution on page 122 exactly what the board that's not it. It's on page 125. I'm sorry. What the board approved at the last negotiation, which was at April 6, 2016. And I'm not gonna read through them, but those are basically the things that are up for negotiation and discussion when we do the negotiations. As we go through the process, I expect that the board negotiators will meet with staff and I'll be present during those. I believe that they've met with the whole staff, and they need to sit down, and negotiators need to figure out their approach to dealing with to coming to the board on negotiators, and then we will be scheduling a meeting probably in the very near future. Any questions, comments?
I have a couple of comments, but whenever you're done. No, I'll wait. What if you have questions?
Oh, well, I have one that I would like for John and myself, Greg and Colleen to have a meeting prior to the meeting with the employee negotiators.
Okay.
I've never done that in the past, and I just feel a little bit more prepared if we kind of did that.
Okay, very good.
I mean, what was the suggestion?
That we have a meeting prior to that meeting.
Oh, we should have a meeting prior to the meeting.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've never done that in the past, and I've been.
Well, gosh.
Kind of feel like a deer in the headlights.
I'll have Emily coordinate a time when all four of us are available in the very near future, and we'll go ahead and get that done. If there's anything that you would like provided as information prior to that, you can funnel that through me.
And Emily does a really good job of rounding this all up, so.
She deserves an award.
Yes, Board Member Mail.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. I was going to kind of drift in that direction. I didn't know whether you all would be interested or not. Something that I'm pretty concerned about, and we keep getting it. Director Burke mentioned it slightly earlier this evening on some other issue, but I'd like you guys to have some pretty serious discussions or fact-finding with our employees about where they really are relative to their insurance compensation, the potential for these single-payer issues. It sounds like manna from heaven for folks that are saying, do this, do that, whatever, it's all going to be like this, but, the longevity and the livelihood and compensation for these employees, this has been a major part of it. And I'd like some feedback from them and real feedback about how they feel about these things. As any of this stuff keeps getting brought to us on a board level for us to start, we think this or that or blah, blah. It really, for me anyway, pretty stupid for me to say, I believe this or I think that or whatever, if our employees say, hell no, or absolutely won't. So.
I want our staff to be up on it, but my problem is there are no subsidy proposals on the table. It depends on the assumptions you put in it, and you can take the general tables used for other countries. And generally, the Democrats have been running very heavily on it, except they shy away from the details, and a lot of people think they're running into some of the same challenges on finances that you fear. And so I don't know what anyone could analyze.
Well,
I mean, if you take the general in another country, you'd say go way down, but there's a lot of reason to believe that's not going to happen. Right. And so we got to see a proposal.
Yeah, John, I don't think I was asking for that definitive. I think what I'd like to know is what our employees, because that's what we're asking when we do negotiations, what they're asking us to give them, what they're asking us to advocate for and lobby for and put our what we do on the line for them in terms of their pay and the structure. But I just kind of like to know before we get the public coming in saying whatever, or the state legislature coming up with a bill, or the governor saying boom, because there's anyway. I know there's nothing definite, but I'd like to know from our employees what they actually think about it.
If you took one of the pieces of legislation we considered, they didn't exempt special district employees, and of course that was a major flaw, but they did exempt county and city employees, so there'd be no change. So that's what I'm trying to say, is these assumptions are so huge in the equation that it's almost a philosophical approach to
And
these
that's
things.
part of my question.
And if they make an exemption for district employees to stay on their existing medical, what do they care? But if they put it in with the general pool, then they may care a lot. Then the issue is, are the costs going to go way down, or are they going to go up, or are they going to stay the same? And when it's that loosey-goosey, I
agree with you, John, but that is also very short-sighted in the long run. We wouldn't do that to our children on other issues. I'm just in generality. Pie in the sky, so, I'm talking about just having a general discussion about it with our employees and get some feedback from them on if this happened or if that happened, how do they feel about it?
Yeah. I have a question for those of you who have served on this committee. Is there room in these negotiations for a dialogue? It sounds to me like Director Mayo is just interested in getting staff perspective on that element. Is how sort of tight are we are held to a certain, we're only allowed to discuss our items. Is that something that is feasible to discuss?
Well, I think
if you look on page 125, you can see what the board and the employees negotiated and came to an agreement on in 2016. So that kind of gives you an idea of the scope of what the discussions were about.
Right. Well, I see that, but I'll just give you guys an example. Health savings accounts. They're a reality now. When I first came on the board, we first started talking about it, it was a real, we don't know, maybe, now health savings accounts have become a reality type thing. So, anyway, I'm just throwing it out. You guys think the world.
I don't mind us tracking it. But what are we tracking? And if you want to take Sweden and Norway, it looks really good.
No, I'm not talking
But if you
about
want to take Venezuela, not so good. You want to take Britain, it's in the middle because they, it's...
John,
yeah.
Come back to Earth.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's take California and our employees and what they think about those potentials for what could happen in California. Things have been brought up to us the last couple of years. You made two really cogent points. One was one way, and one was the other way on a plan. This one worked for the employees, this one didn't. So just ask the general question, if something came up like this, how would they like us to react to that? That's all.
Well, we could certainly do that. I don't think they would be making an informed decision. I think it would be. Because there's just too many variables. And, let's just take healthcare as in hot conflict within the U.S. We have an administration that's doing various things to try and raise rates. I mean, let's be honest. That's a deliberate policy. You, for the first time, actually had enrollments going down in Obamacare. The first year of the Trump presidency, it went up. So how all this is going to sort out, I think we got our contracts. We've got a great medical plan. We stick to that. We figure out a way to pay it. We keep our eyes wide open and our ears listening for how the winds are going. But I don't think, California, if you look at the governors, they all campaigned on it. They're already backing out, is what New York Times says. So,
Well, there's a definitive.
Well, you can say that, but they have a lot of good information there.
Right. Anyway, it's got nothing to do with any of that. It's simply part of the discussions on our labor stuff. If you guys want to bring it up with them, do. I don't know whether, since we were not a union, whether they have, a lot of information coming to them that, so.
Okay.
No,
I don't mind a general discussion, but I don't think it's high quality. What the employees said the last round is they want to see the proposal. There is no proposal. And I think they're wanting to see the proposal. It's a very legitimate request. I wouldn't sign on for something without a proposal if I was the employees. I wouldn't reject something if I was the employees, although many times they'll take a conservative position, just exempt it from the effects of the legislation. And given the strong union, public unions, has a fair chance in California if anything gets off the ground, which so far it hasn't. So,
did you guys have any general discussions on the Cadillac plan when it was a nebulous thing? The tax issue, tax implications when the Cadillac plan hit. I mean, those are the kind of things that, you know.
Well, I think that the between the Cadillac plan, the Cadillac tax, the Cadillac's plan tax, and the reduction in the discount rate for PERS, we opted to do one-year agreements for multiple years because of that, because we really didn't know we didn't have an educated enough position.
Right. So, but you had a discussion about something that you didn't have specifics on because it was important to have a general discussion about it.
Right, and I was requested to calculate whether or not, or where the district's health plan fell in terms of the Cadillac threshold as projected.
I like the discussion on the Cadillac plan because it exists, but one of the first things that will be eliminated by single payer is the Cadillac plan. So, you know, I mean, really, but I do think because it is out there, that's a good one to discuss because there's something that's real to discuss.
It really wasn't something that was real to discuss. It was a nebulous thing that we discussed that could become real.
And honestly, single payer in California until the Constitution is modified in California and they figure out a way to get Medicare from the federal government, we're never going to have single payer in California.
Right.
So
and last time I checked,
it's all lip service.
Relations with California and the federal government were so good.
Well, the federal I mean, even I don't know who even.
I just don't want to get out on the limb on a political decision on something we don't know anything about and is likely not to happen.
I don't know where you're going with this, John.
I don't know where you're going with it. But anyway, I'm going to shut up because we got a meeting to run
and we're almost done.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would be inclined to say that we're negotiating stuff with the employees. I don't want to bring politics into it.
I think everything we do healthcare is politics, but whatever.
Okay. F, reports. Active committee reports. Recreational Advisory Committee. Couch.
Let's see. I missed the meeting.
Okay.
I was working on a report. Sorry.
Next item is Area Fund. John Colstead, not present. But Board Member Burke.
There is a meeting that is called, and at the current time, I think I have a conflict to be able to attend the meeting. So they're going to be looking at the proposals for the Area Fund grants.
Okay.
Okay. And John's usually there for those, right?
John is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's pretty superb on that. So.
Okay.
It's nice to have a presence, but I'll make it if I can.
Okay. Next item, Redwood Regional Economic Development. Mayo.
Yeah, they, let's see, what the hell did we talk about? We've got a second flight going to be happening to LA. March, I think. I think it's March. So that's a new deal. They've worked on that pretty hard. Greg's worked on that very hard. And there was a bit of a sales pitch from two different sides on whether to keep advertising for Eureka or Humboldt County for the visitors deal, and it was interesting. And last night at the city council, they decided to put it out for RFPs on it. So it was quite an interesting discussion, but you could tell there wasn't much consensus. So, and that was the gist of our meetings.
Okay. McKinneyville Senior Center Advisory Council, Burke.
As I mentioned earlier, the Senior Center, it was such a pleasure to go to the board meetings. George had been attending the board meetings, and I had been attending the executive committee meetings. So I hadn't been to a board meeting in a while, but they are well run. They have new members. Can you help me out with the...
Jim Furtado and Bob Seidel. Yes. Risa Angel.
Really
who were originally on the who were actually part of the executive the advisory council.
Well, and Jim had been previously on the board, so it was just such a pleasure to see a well-run organization, and I really look forward to seeing what the Senior Center comes up with and what our partnership looks like in the future. There are a few things, let's see what's coming up. I forgot to bring my packet, but the Senior Center is collaborating on the pop-up museum that the McKinleyville Organizing Coalition is putting together to celebrate McKinleyville's history, its present, and its future. They talked about the Redwood region, the services that are provided to seniors through a fee. There's a
That are what? That are seniors that are what?
there's
a brochure out in the lobby, I believe.
Yeah, but I just didn't hear the last one.
There's an organization.
Disease?
No, that for a fee.
Oh, for a fee.
For a fee, you can join this
Thank you.
organization that provides a lot of services for seniors in the community. They discussed the cameras, and in fact, there might be an offer from one of the board members to use cameras to do security in the building. Anyway, it's nice to see the strategic plan getting implemented and the organization running well. That's all I have.
Audit Committee, Corporate Couch, nothing to report except, David, I'm going to appoint the new member to join us. You may or may not want to stay on the committee. That's up to you, but I want to make sure our new board member's on the Audit Committee.
I do too. Based on qualifications.
Okay. Water Task Force, Burke.
How about employee negotiation? Could you mention that one?
I am not prepared to act on that today. I think it would be opportune to have Emily call our new board member, give the list of committees, see what her interest levels are, and then I'll go through the whole list comprehensively.
Yeah, well, it'll be on the agenda in March.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that we were aware that there was nothing to report on that, or if there was something to report on that.
Okay. G, Water Task Force, Burke.
Did not meet.
Ad hoc, no drugs or toxics down the drain, Burke.
Did not meet.
I would like to meet with you outside the meeting to discuss the longevity of that committee and what tasks it can do.
Could I throw something at you but still talk about, which I hope that it would have gotten done, hasn't. The development of that committee did a lot of things.
Thank you again for. Okay.
Do you want to say thank you to Maya?
I was trying to say thank you to Maya.
Thank you.
The committee did a lot of good things. We worked with Greg Kane to change the whole structure down there so that we could take cooking oils from people. We were the ones that started the whole deal with getting open door clinic to start taking the drugs back. We started the negotiations with Jill that got this waste disposal, the hazardous material stuff. The deals where they come and we do the hazardous material. committee did a lot of really, really good things, and then I had hoped that it would develop a 5 or 10 minute program with a little brochure that we could go around to the schools and have a little session in the grammar schools with the kids about what we were doing and why we were doing in the handout, and get that then going back to the parents, because the number one way you get buy-in for a lot of this stuff is the kids. Hey mom, don't dump that bacon grease down the sink or whatever, you know, and remember that we're getting a lot of stuff and we're diverting a lot of stuff from our place, but we could do better. And I think that's something that may or may not come to fruition, but I'd like it to be something to discuss as you guys think about that, and it could be morphed into some other thing that we do. This committee could go away, whatever. I just wanted to point that stuff out.
That's a great suggestion. We will take it up. My perspective is we have to find some way to keep it in the public's eye, because it's saved this district and everyone here thousands of dollars in their sewer bill by not having these rare exotics.
Let me just throw another thing out. I had thought, sorry it slipped my mind, but Aqua, and I think special districts as well, perhaps, has, what's it called? Waterkeeper, it's not what it's, anyway, there's money for this kind of stuff to do TV ads, and it started out with Save Our Water, and then it's morphed into water, whatever. You know, we could probably put together a really nice 6 or 8 minute public address deal that we could run on public access TV, and KINS would run the stuff for free as long as it's public service stuff. That might be a really interesting thing for us to take on as a project.
Okay.
And I know our new board member is probably chomping at the bit to do just that.
Anything further?
Okay. Say, if we're talking about the no drugs and toxins down the drain, of course we could add in no flushable wipes down the drain.
10-4, brother. 10-4.
For some public education along those lines.
There's actually going to be an article in the newsletter that will be coming out in the next few weeks.
I was going to tell you, when I see Congressman Huffman, that's my topic. I always talk to him about him. He now refers to me as his white constituents.
And some of the committee's work may be just ensuring the district has it covered in the newsletter 1 or 2 times a year. I mean, the good news is it's been overtaken by the success of the program. The bad news is, and I've seen this from water quality, districts forget about it, and then it crops up. And you don't want it to crop up because that's fines and problems with your sewer plant. So how do we keep a good thing going? You've got to have some profile to it. So that's part of what we're looking at.
Every time these, and you know they turn over rapidly here, our newscasters.
Yeah.
Every time we get a new newscaster in, we should have them do a deal on this. That way they won't do another foolish thing with the damn plover.
Okay. McKinneyville Municipal Advisory Committee. I felt it was a conflict of interest for me to be a chair of this and the chair of the McMac. I've resigned from that position. We're going to keep board member Mayo as an alternate, and I'm going to appoint Mary Burke to serve on that committee. And then it's going to actually be very hard to attend because that almost makes it too many people for Brown Act reasons. So if it's totally unrelated to our district, perhaps. But and I'll miss it. I thought the last meeting had some very noteworthy things. The first thing is the district was mentioned 3 times by members of the audience. And if you go back a year, they seemed almost unaware we existed. So that's a huge step forward. And they're also talking about coordinating with us. Again, that's a huge concept. And the people there, they're very sincere, they're very smart, but they don't have a lot of governmental experience. So this last year, I've been really trying to have a lot of governmental presentations and stuff, and I think it's starting to work, and they're realizing we're part of it, they're part of it, county's part of it, and so on and so forth. So, and I thought the atmospherics were very good in that meeting. I don't know whether you agree with that, Greg, or not.
I agree.
Yeah, okay. Cornerstone Committee, Couch.
Nothing to report.
Okay, Groundwater Sustainability Committee, Corbett Burke. Nothing to report. Humboldt Local Agency Foundation Commission, Couch.
We're going to meet in February.
Okay.
Didn't meet in January.
Gonna meet.
Gotta meet.
Staff report, Support Services Department, Colleen Trask.
The only thing I would like to point out to the board is that we are making an adjustment in the utility billing schedule so that all of McKinney will be billed on the same schedule rather than the routes and cycles process we're using now. This is a thing that's made possible by the radio read meters. So if you hear about it from any of your constituents, that's what's going on, and it's going to be implemented in the next couple of months. Other than that, nothing further.
Any questions or comments? Okay. Operations Department, James Henry.
Nothing further to report.
You're shocking me, James. You're shocking. Okay, Parks and Rec. Leslie.
The only thing I'm going to add is the meeting I have with Melanie Williams regarding bicycle and pedestrian safety. One of the 2 trainings that they have funding to do in McKinleyville is scheduled for April 13th. It will be here at Azalea Hall, and it will focus on pedestrian safety. It will include like a training for trainers and a toolkit that we can use in our programs, and possibly the schools will use in the classrooms.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about the other part of the grant?
The other part of the funding they got is going to go toward painting a bike rodeo course at Hiller, in the parking lot at Hiller Sports Site. And then either before they paint it or right around the same time, they are going to conduct a training for trainers for conducting bike rodeos for our staff and possibly other community partners. So that will be something that we can start incorporating on an annual basis for bicycle safety. And other potential things coming out of that grant funding will be a bike maintenance station at Hiller that includes a pump and then tools that are stuck in place. So, yeah.
See how long that lasts. One thing too, and I meant to mention this, that I mentioned the bike rodeo to the Highway Patrol, and they would like to be there, and so that they can actually participate. And they usually have helmets to give away.
Good question, yeah.
So the funding has to be, we have to spend it by August 2020. The bike rodeo piece will probably take place later in the fiscal year or maybe next spring. We need to reseal the parking lot before we paint it so that it'll last longer.
So I'm all confused.
Oh.
When are we going to do the rodeo?
Not until
After you get it painted.
yeah, so then that would be next fiscal year.
Oh, that's too bad.
Well, it'll be August, September.
Yeah, that's still a long time. I have a question I was going to ask that Greg brought up in this grant and stuff about helmets and what's, I don't know what, there's some new laws about anybody under 18 has to wear a helmet when they're riding a bike, is that?
That law has been in place for
Oh, has it?
yeah, a while.
They changed the way the fine is issued and who's responsible.
Yeah, what fine a kid?
19. Yeah, that was the new rule that started on January of this year, and I don't remember specifically what it was. I read it, but.
So when the highway patrol comes, they bring helmets that they give to the kids, or they buy, or what's the deal on that?
I don't know. I'm not.
That's what
I suspect they give them out. When we've done them in the past, years ago, we hosted a couple bike rodeos. We got money from public health to buy helmets that we gave out.
Cool. They usually the highway patrol's got helmets that they can bring. Not that many, but they'll bring a few helmets for the kids.
The kids to use, not to give them.
No, to give them.
Oh, I think.
Yeah.
Board member Burke?
I wanted to note that staff continues to seek ways to expand programming, and recently added programming has been successful. Congratulations on that. Getting 2 paint nights and having them be well attended. And then I wanted to ask about the ACES. It attracted 8 participants. What's the capacity for that program?
We targeted 12 so we're kind of trial and erroring because the first few are happening during playgroup time. So the first one was held in the teen center and they had 8 attend. However, staff recently went and did a craft project at playgroup and was able to do it in the playgroup room, and it was really manageable there. So the next one, which is next Tuesday, she's going to do inside the playgroup, and I think there'll be more participation, and she's had it settled where all the kids already are.
Great.
Okay. Any further comments, questions? General Manager report.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Okay, President's report. Want to look and square our strategic plan implementation schedule with our capacity, and the capacity is less financial and more. We have limited staff, and they probably can't carry out everything we've stated in the timelines we've stated. So I think a major goal I have is trying to get that in balance with what reasonably can get done, so that our deadlines and our priorities are meaningful, not just a huge list that can't be met. And that's going to be a thoughtful task.
Right. We hope to bring the visionary goals back to the board at the next meeting. Have a impromptu workshop to allow public input for people that didn't get a chance to provide public input at another time, and then the board. That way, the board can see the community's prioritization of the visionary goals, and at that point in time, we can start having that discussion about what's feasible and what's not related to the visionary goals.
Are you saying we will have compiled the data by the March meeting, or we're having a public input at March and we'll bring compiled data in April?
Yeah.
Okay.
Board member comments, announcements, report, and agenda item requests.
Can I ask
Yes,
on that
so
last item,
may.
just how's the response been? What you expected? More? Less? On those surveys and whatnot?
Leslie's actually collecting the feedback.
I haven't done a count. 3 came into the office this week from the meetings that we had last week. You know, when we were at the meeting, I get like 1 or 2. So I mean, I wouldn't wager I've collected 15.
Yeah, about 1/10% of McKinneyville.
Anything else?
Just to let everybody know that I'm leaving on the 19th to go to DC for 2.5 weeks to lobby, and the first week I'm doing personal, but related to things that involve our water issues in district and stuff too. But the second week is strictly aqua issues. And I have 27 meetings scheduled so far.
Well, bring the goodies for California. We appreciate it.
Well, it's just constant pressure applied constantly, not necessarily the pressure, but just constantly reminding everybody constantly. And, it does have a little effect.
All right. Anything else?
Hopefully they're open for
This,
it.
No.
Just getting twitchy. Okay.